Chapter 225. The night sky was filled with stars. The bonfire swayed gently in the cold wind, and a simple tent was built under the rock wall. The bottom of the tent was padded with some hay, but it didn't seem to help. Fortunately, Lin Muyu also bought a quilt and stuffed it into the universe bag. This universe bag was really hard work. Without it, they wouldn't have been able to carry so many things. However, the quilt was slightly thin, so it wasn't possible to rely on it to keep out the cold. Moreover, the tent was quite shabby with holes all over it, and the cold wind blew in. Qian took off her boots and hugged the quilt as she sat in the tent. She looked at the flickering flames outside and said with a smile, "Brother Ayu, it's cold outside. Come in quickly. Keep the flames burning, and you can scare away most of the spirit beasts." Lin Muyu added a few more thick sticks of firewood before opening the door of the tent. Bringing the cold wind with her, she entered the tent. However, her brows were still furrowed as she looked outside, as if she was still worried. Qian couldn't help but giggle and asked, "What are you worried about?" "Dragon-seeking forest isn't an ordinary forest." Lin Muyu laughed at herself and said, "Last time, I went to the depths of dragon-seeking forest with Wei Chou, Xiahou and the others, and we were almost killed by a spirit beast. I still have lingering fears when thinking about it. We must be extra careful when spending the night in dragon-seeking forest. Those spirit beasts are all smarter than the other." Qian chuckled. "But you also said that it's the depths of dragon-seeking forest, and we're only at the edge of dragon-seeking forest. How strong of a spirit beast can there be? Spirit beasts have a fixed territory. Normally, spirit beasts won't leave their territory unless something big happens. Brother, you know this habit too." Lin Muyu touched her nose and smiled. "It should be because it's afraid of being chased by the heaven beast that time." "Heaven beast?" Qian suddenly widened her eyes. You encountered a heaven beast?" "Yes. If it wasn't for the appearance of this heaven beast, Han Shao wouldn't have died in front of us." "When did this happen?" "The second time was when I hunted 6,000-year-old light-type spirit stones for Yu Qiyan to forge a longsword for you." Lin Muyu leaned on the hard pillow and put her arms behind her head. She sighed and said, "That was a 13,000-year-old heaven beast. We weren't its match at all. We were lucky to escape alive that time." "Oh my God, a heaven beast that's more than 10,000 years old? That's a legendary sacred beast." Qian was slightly angry as she said, "I didn't know about this at all. It must be that bastard supervisor Che Qiong's idea. I'll definitely punish her after we return to the Zetian Palace." "No need." Lin Muyu tilted her head and looked at her. "Xiao, the Imperial Guard's mission is to protect Zetian Palace Hall, and the Eagle Guard's duty is to provide some precious spirit stones for the Imperial family. You might not know about Che Qiong ordering the Eagle Nest camp to patrol, but Father definitely knows. So don't pursue this matter. It's already in the past anyway." Qian was stunned. She gently moved her body and looked at Lin Muyu apologetically with her beautiful eyes. Like a little girl who had done something wrong, she whispered, "Big brother Yu, please forgive Father. He's the Emperor, and when he gave the order, he was sitting on the Emperor's throne. I believe he didn't mean to disregard your life." "Okay, I know." Lin Muyu smiled. "I know the rules of this world and I'll learn to follow them. But Xiao, if you become the Emperor in the future, will you also disregard life like this?" Qian shook her head forcefully. "No, I promise." "Okay, that's good." Lin Muyu closed her eyes and said, "Then in the future, on your path to becoming the Emperor, anyone who makes an enemy of you will be my enemy. I promise, I will support you with all my strength until the day you become the Emperor." "Will you be there on the day I become the Emperor?" Qian asked faintly. "Yes, I definitely will." Lin Muyu nodded. "Okay, that's good." Qian gently held Lin Muyu's hand and pressed it against her snow-white face. She closed her eyes and said, "I hope we can be like this forever. Don't let power taint our relationship." "I won't." Okay. Not long after, Qian entered Dreamland. She still held Lin Muyu's left hand in her arms and held it tightly. She slept peacefully like a beautiful elf born from the forest, making people feel infatuated and intoxicated. It was almost dawn, but it was still dark outside. Lin Muyu had also fallen asleep. The bonfire crackled and burned the last of the wood, leaving only a wisp of smoke floating in the mountains. Huff! In the distance, a pack of wolves bared their teeth, and mucus slowly dripped from their mouths. Their brown eyes stared fixedly at the simple and crude tent. To them, it was a delicious meal. The alpha wolf's eyes faintly glowed with a golden luster. It had already gained intelligence. It let out a low growl as it looked into the distance. Its eyes were filled with greed. It could sense that the two people in the tent were faintly emanating spiritual energy. To it, this was a delicious meal. When a spirit beast devours the bodies of humans with cultivation, it can also greatly increase and accelerate its lifespan and cultivation. Lifespan was only a standard to evaluate a spiritual beast's strength. A 10,000-year-old spiritual beast might not really have lived for 10,000 years. Perhaps 3,000 years of these 10,000 years were provided by humans. Roar! The alpha wolf suddenly roared and led more than 30 wolves down the mountain, heading straight for the tent. In his sleep, Lin Muyu's spiritual meridian technique produced a violent fluctuation. He suddenly woke up and quickly retracted his hand. He shook Qin Yin's fragrant shoulder and said, "Xiao Yin, don't sleep anymore. A spiritual beast is sneaking up on us. Wake up quickly." But Qin Yin quickly sat up and put on her little boots. At the same time, she took out a blue space bag from her waist and took out an exquisite 7-string jade zither. "What are you going to do with the zither?" Lin Muyu asked in surprise. "It's a pack of swift wolves that attacked us. Are you going to smash them to death with the zither?" Qin Yin chuckled. "You'll find out later." All right, Lin Muyu carried the sword and walked out of the tent. The pack of wolves in the distance had already scurried over. There were more than 30 of them, and they were aggressive. The alpha wolf was a swift wolf with golden fur at the tip. It looked very different. There were 3 golden patterns on its head, and it was a 3,000-year-old spiritual beast. The rest of the swift wolves lived between 100 to 2,000 years, and they were not very strong. The dragon spirit sword softly let out a sword cry, as if it was cheering for the upcoming slaughter. At this time, Qin Yin also carried the 7-string jade zither to Lin Muyu's side. Her body was surrounded by dense battle energy, and the milky white battle energy suddenly floated in front of her like a light mist. Holding the 7-string jade zither, Qin Yin's clothes fluttered as she stood in front of the zither. Strands of golden god-binding chains martial soul lingered around her graceful body like a golden curtain. At this time, although Qin Yin was wearing a simple young girl's attire, she was like a fairy descending to the mortal world. This kind of temperament and aura was not something an ordinary woman could compare to. "Big brother, you, don't make a move first. Watch me." Qin Yin confidently puffed out her chest. She was still young, but she had already developed very well. Her pair of peaks looked as if they were about to burst out of her clothes. Lin Muyu couldn't help but take a second look. Her heart was shaken, and she hurriedly used the spirit pulse technique to control her mind. Roar! A few giant wolves roared and rushed over. Each of them opened their bloody mouths wide, ready to pounce on Yang Ling. At this time, Qin Yin suddenly raised her hand, and a sharp zither sound swept past. Carrying the power of the god-binding chain's martial soul, it turned into a golden sound wave that directly attacked the wolves. Pung pung pung! The sound did not stop. 3 wolves howled miserably as they died in the wilderness. They didn't even have the strength to fight back. Qin Yin smiled sweetly at Lin Muyu. She raised her hand again, and another golden sound wave flew out. The zither sound was sharp, and it quickly killed 4 wolves. At this rate, Lin Muyu really didn't need to do anything. Just Qin Yin alone was enough to deal with this group of wolves. This was taught by Chu, right? Lin Muyu asked with a smile. Yes. Qin Yin nodded her head, but her hands didn't stop moving. She smiled faintly and said, "As the princess tutor, Elder Chu used the god-binding shackles martial soul's power and the ingenuity of the demonic noise fist to create a sound wave attack martial art. By combining the power of the god-binding shackles with sound, the lethality of the attack will be greatly increased. Yes. Lin Muyu secretly praised. The God-binding chains was the #1 martial soul in the world. Its powerful attack power was indeed incomparable to other martial souls. Fortunately, her green gourd walked the path of defense. If it had walked the path of offense, it would not have lasted more than 3 rounds against the God-binding chains. This was probably the principle of everyone having their own strengths. Very quickly, more than 30 wolves were almost finished off by Qin Yin. The leader of the wolves was also injured by the sound wave attack, and it was about to limp away. Qin Yin hugged her zither and said with a smile, "Big brother you, let's catch this 300-year golden crag swift wolf. Xiao Yin wants to tame it as a pet." But Lin Muyu raised her sword and chased after it. Every step she took was like a meteor falling to the ground. The golden crag swift wolf would not be able to outrun her even if it was not injured. Swoosh, swoosh, gourd vines that glowed with golden light burst out of the ground and quickly wrapped around the golden crag swift wolf's body. It howled in pain and flailed its legs wildly, tearing apart a few vines. However, Lin Muyu was already in front of it. She raised the hilt of her sword and smashed it into the golden crag swift wolf's head. Bang! It immediately became obedient. It howled in pain and collapsed into the gourd vines. Like a puppy, it begged for mercy from Lin Muyu and Qin Yin. Qin Yin giggled. "Don't worry, we won't kill you. We just want you to come with us." Chapter 226. Qin Yin closed her eyes, and the God-binding chains wrapped around her like a golden dress. The chains fused with the beast-taming power and strengthened the bond between her and the Gold Crag Swift Wolf. Woo-woo. At first, the Gold Crag Swift Wolf fought back fiercely, but in less than 10 minutes, it was wagging its tail and licking its ears to please its beautiful master, Qin Yin. This grandson. Lin Muyu couldn't help but chuckle. Qin Yin slowly opened her eyes and smiled. "Big brother you, remove the gourd vines. The contract is complete." But Lin Muyu waved her hand, and the gourd vines disappeared into the wind. The Gold Crag Swift Wolf wagged its tail and pounced into its mistress' arms. It even extended its tongue and tried to lick Qin Yin's face. Lin Muyu wasn't happy about this. She quickly pushed its head away and said sourly, "You beast, let go of my Xiao Yin." Qin Yin burst into laughter. Her cheeks were flushed with a beautiful blush. However, the Gold Crag Swift Wolf wasn't happy. It immediately bared its sharp teeth and bit down on Lin Muyu's fist. Lin Muyu opened her hand, and the golden gourd marshal's soul quickly condensed in her palm. The Gold Crag Swift Wolf immediately cowered and whimpered. It wagged its tail and approached Qin Yin from another direction. Although the Gold Crag Swift Wolf looked strong and fierce, it was like a cute pet at this moment. Qin Yin's heart almost melted. She smiled and said, "Big brother you, don't bother with this little wolf." "Then you can't let it lick your face?" Lin Muyu said jealously. Don't want what?" Qin Yin looked at him with a mischievous smile. Lin Muyu originally wanted to say, "I don't want to lick the same place as a wolf," but thinking that it might offend and disrespect the princess, she changed her words and said, "I don't want Xiao Yin to get infected by some wild animal disease." Qin Yin was a little disappointed. "Oh, that's all? What else do you want?" Lin Muyu countered. Qin Yin's face immediately turned red. "Let's go. Let's pack our things and continue on our way. Otherwise, we don't know when we'll reach Miyu City. Grandfather might be waiting anxiously. He doesn't know that you're going to see him in person." "You're right." Thus, the team's formation changed once more. 2 humans, 2 mounts, and a Golden Rock Swift Wolf rode beside Qin Yin. After communicating with the Golden Rock Swift Wolf, Qin Yin seemed to be able to read the Golden Rock Swift Wolf's thoughts at any time. She pursed her lips and held back her laughter as she said, "Big brother you, do you know what the little wolf was thinking just now?" "What was it thinking?" "It was thinking that these 2 skinny horses must not be delicious. There's too little meat and they're all bones. They're not even enough to fill the gaps between its teeth." "Really?" Lin Muyu tilted her head and looked at the Golden Rock Swift Wolf. She laughed. This beast actually wants to eat our horses. If you dare touch a hair on these two horses, I promise I won't kill you. The golden rock swift wolf looked up at Lin Muyu and couldn't help but clamp its tail between its legs. It whimpered and leaned against Qin Yin's leg. Qin Yin giggled. Do you know what it's thinking now? Nothing good, that's right. It's thinking that although this man is very strong, he's too ugly. He doesn't meet the aesthetic standards of werewolves at all. He doesn't even have a bit of fat on his belly. That's the aesthetic standards of food, right? Lin Muyu smiled. This old man's 9-pack is not for nothing. How can there be fat on my belly? That's enough. Qin Yin's face was flushed. Although she had never seen Lin Muyu naked, just thinking about it was enough to make her heart beat faster. She didn't dare to think about it anymore. Just like that, 2 people and 1 wolf walked on the mountain road until evening. Looking at the map, they were about 5 or 6 days away from Muyu City. They weren't in a hurry, so they walked slowly. It was getting late, so they should reduce their travel at night. After all, there were too many dangers here. They could be attacked by a pack of wolves at any time. Dozens of wolves were fine, but if there were thousands of them, then it would be difficult to deal with them. Although Lin Muyu and Qin Yin's cultivation was already at the peak of the younger generation, their physical strength and battle chi were limited. If they encountered thousands of wolves, then they might die. The iron pot was propped up above the bonfire. Qin Yin was kneeling at the side, seasoning the wild vegetables into the meat soup. Lin Muyu, on the other hand, had chopped some dry firewood and returned with it in her arms. At this moment, a faint sound came from the side of the mountain. It seemed to be the sound of a branch being stepped on. Someone is coming. Lin Muyu put down the firewood and whispered, "It looks like they're coming with bad intentions." Who could it be? Qin Yin didn't look up. She only slightly increased her battle chi, and the God-binding lock was not released. Who knows? Let's wait for them to make a move first. Condense your aura shield. And I know. She smiled sweetly. Don't worry, Xiao Yin can protect herself. Lin Muyu naturally put down her guard. There were a total of 24 human auras on the mountain, and the strongest was only at the first level of the Earth realm. Even if this group of people attacked together, they might not be a match for Qin Yin, not to mention herself. However, those people didn't seem to attack too early. They probably wanted to use bows and arrows to attack from afar. The mountain was 200 meters away from here. Their arm strength shouldn't be able to reach 200 meters, right? But at this moment, the people hiding in the wild forest attacked. Whoosh! A sharp arrow pierced through the air. The arrow was imbued with true energy, and it still maintained its speed and power when it was only 10 meters away from Lin Muyu and Qin Yin. As expected, there was someone capable. However, Lin Muyu had long since seen through this arrow. She took a step forward and appeared in front of Qin Yin. Her palms were covered in battle armor, and her energy swept out. With a loud bang, the arrowhead and the arrow shaft were smashed into pieces. The battle chi dissipated in the air and spun rapidly. On the mountain, the sound of swords being unsheathed could be heard. A group of people also stood up. They were all dressed like mercenaries. One of them held a spear and shouted, "Charge down there and kill those two. Take their heads and you'll be rewarded 5,000 Jin Yin coins. Brothers, it's time to get rich. Kill them." Qin Yin continued to pick and wash the wild vegetables and put them into the pot. She smiled and said, "Big brother you, do you need me to do it?" "No need." Lin Muyu chuckled coldly. Another group of mercenaries who value money more than their lives. How annoying. Qin Yin chuckled. This is a difficult world. Jin Yin coins can help people survive, so it's naturally very attractive. These people are only killing for money. Perhaps there's no need to kill them all. Big brother you, please spare their lives. Just don't let them continue to harm others. Lin Muyu slowly pulled out her dragon spirit sword. Then I'll destroy their seas of vital energy so they can't continue to cultivate, but they'll still have the strength to farm and graze. Is that fine? That's for the best. Remember to capture one of them and find out who hired them to kill us. All right. At this moment, the Gold Rock Quickwolf beside Qin Yin was howling with rage. Its golden fur was already standing on end, and it looked like it was going to charge out and feast on the two of them at any moment. Qin Yin reached out and patted the wolf's head with a smile. "Stay here and don't move. Big brother, you will take care of them." The swift wolf immediately stopped howling. It wagged its tail and ears and began to flatter its mistress. At this moment, Lin Muyu had already rushed out. The walls of the golden gourd quickly protected her body. After deflecting a few arrows, she leaped up and slashed down from the sky with her sword. With a crack, a mercenary's shield was split in half. At the same time, the blade of her sword trembled slightly, and a ray of sword chi pierced into the mercenary's sea of vital energy. Ah! The mercenary clutched his stomach and rolled on the ground, howling miserably. True energy leaked out, and his cultivation was crippled just like that. Lin Muyu's movement technique was exquisite. He shuttled back and forth between the crowd and the swords like a bolt of lightning. In the blink of an eye, dozens of mercenaries had their sea of vital energy destroyed. On the other hand, Lin Muyu still had a lazy look on her face. She raised her hand and sheathed the dragon spirit sword. She said indifferently, "All right, your cultivation has been crippled. Go home and farm. Don't come out and harm people." As she spoke, she lifted the mercenary with the longbow and said coldly, "Tell me, who hired you to kill me?" The mercenary's face was full of anger. He said, "You bastard, you destroyed my sea of vital energy, and you still want to trick me? In your dreams. We, the fierce tiger mercenary group, will never reveal any information about our employer." "Is that so?" Lin Muyu took out a diamond coin from his cosmos sack and shook it. The diamond coin glowed alluringly under the setting sun. He smiled and said, "If you tell me, I'll give you this diamond coin." As expected, the integrity of the fierce tiger mercenary group was only worth 1,000 gold yin coins. The mercenary leader's face was filled with a conflicted expression. Lin Muyu added, "Your cultivation has already been crippled. If you take these 1,000 yin coins back home, at least you'll have something to answer for. Otherwise, you'll have nothing left. As the leader, shouldn't you spare a thought for your brothers?" Finally, the mercenary leader relented. He said, "It's a wealthy man called Lu Jun. He hired us to kill two siblings. One is Lin Yu, and the other is Lin Yin. He said that by killing you, he would be able to avenge his close friend, Du Yiming. You can look for Lu Jun if you have any grudges or grievances. It has nothing to do with us." "Got it? Hurry up and scram." Lin Muyu threw the diamond coin on the ground as compensation. Otherwise, these mercenaries wouldn't even have enough money to buy a cow when they returned home. Lin Muyu frowned as she watched the mercenaries leave. She returned to Qin Yin's side and said, "Xiao Yin, we shouldn't stay here for long. Let's travel through the night after we finish eating. We'll reach the Daojiang River's tributary about 50 li ahead. We can set up camp by the river and sleep until noon tomorrow." Qin Yin nodded with a smile. "I'll listen to you. Come and try my soup. How is it?" Lin Muyu tasted it and her face turned green. "Is it good?" "Delicious. Why is your voice hoarse? You'll have to ask how much salt you put in. I'm in the wrong." "No, you're not in the wrong. It's the salt that's wrong." Chapter 227. Feeling thirsty, Lin Muyu rode on the skinny horse and continued on her way. As they were in the dragon-seeking forest at night, she did not have to worry about exposing her identity. Lin Muyu immediately used the secret art of sword kinesis with fire. The dragon spirit sword blazed brightly as it flew in front, opening up a path. Lin Muyu brought Qin Yin along as she sped forward. 3 hours later, they arrived at a river basin. A cool breeze blew, bringing with it the smell of river water. Lin Muyu and Qin Yin led the horse along the river slowly. They could even see the weeds sprouting on the ground. This meant that spring was coming and the harsh winter was about to pass. Rice River was a large river in the imperial capital's Mother River Basin. It was formed from the melting of the snowy mountains in the north of the Seven Seas Province. It flowed through the Seven Seas Province, North Ridge Province, South Songnan Province, and Heaven's Pivot Province. It seemed that the humans of the mainland were born around the Rice River Basin. This was the birthplace of human civilization in this plain. Now that they had entered the Cloud Province, the Rice River in front of them was just a branch of the Rice River. It was already 1,000 meters wide. One could imagine how magnificent the main stream of the Rice River was. A towering tree soared into the sky, standing straight at the edge of Daojiang. Lin Muyu pointed and smiled. "Shall we camp under this tree tonight?" Qin Yi nodded and smiled. "Just right. It's convenient to get water here. We don't have to walk too far to get water tomorrow morning." After setting up the tent, it seemed that the humidity in the air had increased by a lot. It was far less cold than in the dragon-seeking forest. They started a bonfire and opened a small corner of the tent. Lin Muyu leaned on the pillow and looked at the Rice River. She suddenly asked, "Xiao Yin, why are there no boats on the Rice River?" This, Qin Yin thought for a moment and said, "I've read about the Rice River in the Cloud Province in the past. It seems that there are some water monsters living in the Rice River Basin. They often make boats. Therefore, only some shallow water fishing boats and some imperial warships dare to pass through the Rice River Basin in the Twilight Rain City." "Is that so?" "Yeah, that's what I heard, but I don't know if there are any water monsters." "Then go to bed early. Leave the Goldrock Swiftwolf outside to keep watch." "And all right." Lin Muyu covered herself with the quilt and slowly fell asleep. She could hear Qin Yin's gentle breathing. It seemed that Qin Yin was used to hugging Lin Muyu's arm to sleep. He chuckled inwardly and didn't say anything else. With a 3,000-year-old golden rock Swiftwolf guarding the perimeter, it should be relatively safe. The art of psychic mastery was indeed a good thing. If Qin Yin's soul could tame a 3,000-year-old golden rock Swiftwolf, then wouldn't his own soul be able to tame a 5,000-year-old golden rock Swiftwolf? Thinking of this, he actually felt a little excited. The next morning, Qin Yin woke up early and went to get some water for cooking. However, Lin Muyu was still worried and followed her to the riverside. She saw that the river was turbulent and there were even huge waves that were several meters high in the center. "I'm going to cook. This time, I'll make sure to use less salt," Qin Yin said with a smile. "Okay, go ahead." Lin Muyu remained by the riverside and gazed into the distance. There were 7 or 8 huge whirlpools in the middle of the river, but they made him feel a little uneasy. His spiritual pulse art could also detect faint fluctuations of spiritual energy, as if there was something hidden in the depths of the river. Could it really be, as Qin Yin said, that there was a water monster? Whoosh, whoosh, one of the huge whirlpools was at least 100 meters in diameter. Icy air rose from the center and quickly dissipated in the warm wind. The energy that Lin Muyu sensed was in this whirlpool. What exactly was it? He couldn't be sure. He couldn't jump into the river with his sword. Not to mention that his swimming skills weren't that good. If there really was a water monster in the river, he would be courting death. Oh, the golden crag Swiftwolf was like a big dog lying by the river, howling at the water. This made Lin Muyu even more certain that there was something hiding in the river. He patted the golden crag Swiftwolf's head and said, "Little wolf, let's go back. We shouldn't stay by the river anymore." Woo-woo, the Swiftwolf followed him back with its tail between its legs. "Did you find anything?" Qin Yin's soup was almost done. "Nothing." Lin Muyu shook his head and said, "Let's hurry up and eat. After we finish eating, we'll leave immediately. Don't rush along the river. It's not safe here." Could there really be a water monster? It's hard to say. "All right, hurry up and eat. Xiao Yin will get you some soup." Holding the big bowl, Lin Muyu wolfed down the meat soup. His body warmed up, and he suddenly felt an inexplicable sense of satisfaction. However, at this moment, the howling of the golden crag Swiftwolf came from the river. It sounded like it was wailing and full of fear. Damn it, why did that stupid wolf still go over? She hurriedly put down the bowl and unsheathed the dragon spirit sword. With a clang, Lin Muyu summoned her gourd martial soul and rushed over. Qin Yin also carried her zither and followed behind. The golden rock Swiftwolf was already howling miserably in the water. Its body had been entangled by strange, thorny arms, and it was sinking into the water. Lin Muyu immediately raised her hand and shouted, "Entangle!" Golden gourd vines rose from the river and pulled the golden crag swift wolf's sinking body. At the same time, it struggled to send the wolf to the shore. They had to leave the river, or else Lin Muyu wouldn't have the confidence to win. As the golden crag swift wolf rushed to the shore, a huge creature was dragged out of the river. It was a water monster that looked like a hydra. Jejia, the water monster roared loudly. However, upon closer inspection, one could see that the real head was only the one in the middle. It looked like a dragon's head and was dark blue in color. The other 8 limbs were covered in thorns and sharp blades. Even though the golden crag swift wolf was covered in golden flaming armor, it was still covered in blood. Qin Yin's heart ached when she saw this. She immediately sent out a sound wave attack. With Qin Yin's help, the golden attack landed on the water monster's body. The water monster flew into a rage out of humiliation and rushed to the shore. This time, it was even more certain that this was a horned dragon that lived at the bottom of the river. It was an ice attribute spirit beast. There were 5 golden patterns on its head. It was a 5,000-year-old spirit beast. However, this thing didn't look like a dragon at all. Instead, it looked more like a disgusting and terrifying monster. It was a complete and utter water monster. It's the frost armored dragon. Qin Yin's eyes turned cold. Big brother Yu, be careful. The frost armored dragon's restraining ability is very strong. Once you are bound by its blade-like arms, it will be very difficult to escape. I know. One could imagine it just by looking at the sorry state the golden crag swift wolf was in. However, if it was only a 5,000-year-old spirit beast, then there was nothing to fear. The dragon spirit sword spun rapidly under the cover of the raging flames. The moment it appeared, it used fire to control the sword. Lin Muyu raised her hand and used the wall of the gourd to block the frost-armored dragon's blade-like arms. Blood surged in her heart as she punched out with her demonic sound fist. The horned dragon's body trembled slightly. However, it didn't die from the injury. Instead, it swung its blade-like arms at Lin Muyu even more ferociously. The tips of these blade-like arms were like long spears and possessed astonishing destructive power. In the blink of an eye, a deep hole was left in the wall of the gourd. Lin Muyu felt her scalp go numb just looking at it. At this moment, the dragon spirit sword had already launched its attack. With 3 consecutive slashes, 3 of the frost-armored dragon's blade-like arms were severed. Green blood splattered everywhere. It was an extremely disgusting sight. Kiki. Amidst the screams, the frost-armored dragon suddenly pounced forward. Its abdomen suddenly opened, revealing a huge mouth full of sharp teeth. With a hua sound, it enveloped Lin Muyu's body. Big brother Yu. Qin Yin was so anxious that tears were about to fall from her eyes. Since Lin Muyu had been swallowed, she didn't dare to use sound waves to attack. That would hurt Lin Muyu. Fortunately, at this moment, a golden light broke through the frost-armored dragon's abdomen. The dragon spirit sword had directly cut through the frost armor. Lin Muyu's entire body was wrapped in Do Qi armor. How could she be killed by a mere 5,000-year-old spiritual beast? She leaped into the air and stood in the wind. With a wave of her finger, the surrounding river water rose up and condensed into water swords under the guidance of the sword manipulation technique. In the next moment, the swords shot out in a concentrated manner, sword manipulation technique. Peng, peng, peng. The frost-armored dragon's hard armor was riddled with holes. Miserable howls rang out incessantly. In the blink of an eye, it was riddled with holes. But with the support of its strong vitality, it actually moved its body rapidly towards the river water. It seemed to be trying to escape. You still want to leave? Lin Muyu was in such a sorry state. How could she let the frost-armored dragon go so easily? She grabbed the long sword and slashed down from the sky. Kacha! Another 2 blade-like arms were severed. The 9-headed snake had become a 5-headed snake. At this moment, Qin Yin suddenly raised her sword and attacked. Her sword suddenly landed on the side of Lin Muyu. With a peng sound, the energy of the god-binding chain shattered. At the same time, there was a strange howl. That was another horned dragon that had tried to attack Lin Muyu. It was the second frost-armored dragon. Through the spirit pulse technique, countless powerful auras were surging up from the bottom of the river. Lin Muyu's heart turned cold. She hurriedly wrapped her arms around Qin Yin's slender waist and activated the falling star steps to leave the riverside. "Let's go, it's not good." Qin Yin was stunned. She turned around and saw numerous dark blue heads poking out from the river surface. Her scalp went numb. No one would have thought that there would be so many frost-armored dragons living at the bottom of the river. So many, run for your life, and you still dare to lament. Luckily, the campsite was about 500 meters away from the river. The murderous frost-armored dragons only chased them for about 100 meters before retreating. It was as if they had also sensed that the shore was not their territory. "There are more than 100 of them," Qin Yin said with lingering fear. "Most of them have a lifespan of 2,000 to 4,000 years. It's so scary. I finally know why Grandpa issued a fishing ban and forbade fishermen from fishing in Daojiang." Lin Muyu's heart went numb. Such a scary mother river. It's too inhumane. Pack up the tent and let's go. A single frost-armored dragon was already so scary. Lin Muyu was very sure that if she had jumped into the river to fight it, she would have died without a corpse. Chapter 228. Not long after leaving the waters of the Daojiang River, two roads appeared in front of them. One was to cross the mountain range in the west and head towards the main road near the ancient path in the clouds. The other was a canyon in front of them. After passing through the canyon, they could take a shortcut to the border of the Cloud Province. Qin Yin flipped through the map several times and asked, "Big brother Yu, which road do you support?" "The official road is too ostentatious, so it's not suitable. If we take the canyon path..." Lin Muyu squinted her eyes and looked into the distance, saying, "This canyon path seems to have not been used for at least 100 years. It's completely a primeval forest. I'm worried that if we take this path, it will be even more dangerous. However, the danger from wild beasts is much less than from humans. I think we should take the canyon path." "All right, it's a small path. Let's go." After entering the canyon, there were cliffs on both sides. The trees in the canyon were all so tall that they reached the sky. The ground was covered with a thick layer of leaves that were slowly withering. It was clear that no one had stepped into this place for a very long time. "Be careful." Lin Muyu suddenly felt a wave of alarm in her heart. She pulled Qin Yin and hid under a cliff. They could only hear the sound of an eagle's cry in the sky. A giant eagle with a wingspan of at least 10 meters flew over their heads. Qin Yin widened her beautiful eyes in shock. She watched the giant eagle fly far away before sticking out her tongue and saying with a smile, "This giant eagle has at least 10,000 years of cultivation, right? It can only be higher and not lower." Lin Muyu nodded with lingering fear in her heart. "We have to be careful. A 10,000-year-old spirit beast actually appeared in the vicinity. It's not simple. I feel a bit uneasy." Just be careful." They continued on their way and encountered two foraging spirit beasts along the way. One was a 7,000-plus-year-old scarlet flame tiger and the other was an 8,400-year-old frost lizard. Speaking of which, it was really strange. Didn't creatures like lizards hibernate during the winter? However, this lizard moved with heavy steps and walked around the mountains. Lin Muyu and Qin Yin even saw this lizard swallow a 120-year-old wild boar with their own eyes. That wild boar was really pitiful. It intruded into this area that it shouldn't have. It was simply courting death. It was almost noon, and it was time to find a place to rest. At this moment, Qin Yin pointed to the mountainside in front of them and said with a smile, "You, look. There's a temple there. Should we go and take a look?" Lin Muyu narrowed her eyes. "It's an abandoned temple. What's the point of going there? I'm just curious." "All right then." Lin Muyu couldn't dissuade the little princess. She smiled and said, "I'll take a look and leave." "Yes." It was already afternoon when the two of them were halfway up the mountain. This temple had been abandoned for many years. The front hall was almost completely weathered into ruins. It was full of fallen leaves. The main hall still had some broken bricks and tiles. There was even a bronze statue that looked very old standing in the ruins. It was a Buddha statue with its palms together. However, it was covered in green copper, and the head of the Buddha statue had been weathered away. Lin Muyu gently reached out and touched it. Immediately, one of the hands of the Buddha statue crumbled and fell to the ground like a pile of mud. Damn, how many years has it been for it to be abandoned to this extent? Lin Muyu was secretly shocked. She said, "At least 2,000 years. No." Qin Yin wiped the green copper off the base of the Buddha statue and said, "At least 30,000 years of history. How can Xiao Yin be so sure?" "Because of this." Qin Yin pointed to a row of words that Lin Muyu couldn't understand at the base of the Buddha statue. She said, "This ancient Buddha statue is called Xuanji Buddha, but the carvings on the base are Xianxia Buddha." Father had asked Xiao Yin to study the Buddhist scriptures, so Xiao Yin naturally knew that the Shattered Cauldron Realm continent worshipped 9 great Buddha. Xianxia Buddha was one of them. However, the name was changed to Xuanji Buddha during the war 30,000 years ago. Therefore, most people only know of Xuanji Buddha but not Xianxia Buddha, so that's how it is. Lin Muyu secretly sighed. The Buddhism of this world was completely different from her world. They actually didn't worship Vairocana. Qin Yin sincerely knelt in front of the Buddha statue. After praying for a while, she smiled and said, "Although the empires and dynasties of the continent have changed many times, the beliefs have never changed. They have always believed in the 9 great Buddha. Brother Yu, let's go. We can't stay here for long. This place has been abandoned for at least 10,000 years. Who knows what might be there?" Lin Muyu nodded. However, just as she was about to leave, her heart suddenly moved. The spirit pulse technique rippled, as if there was spiritual energy fluctuating somewhere. Carefully sensing it, it was actually under her feet. "What's wrong?" Qin Yin looked at him in surprise. Lin Muyu immediately pulled out the dragon spirit sword and said, "Xiao Yin, it seems like we might have found a treasure. I can feel energy fluctuations underground. It's not deep. Let me dig." Qin Yin couldn't help but laugh. This place has been abandoned for 10,000 years. What good things could there be? Who knows? We'll know once we dig. With a spin of the dragon spirit sword, Lin Muyu acted as an excavator and quickly dug a hole in the ground. Qin Yin stood to the side and smiled as she watched him search for treasures. Not long after, they dug nearly 5 meters deep. Suddenly, with a clang, the dragon spirit sword hit a hard object. It was actually able to block the sharpness of the dragon spirit sword, which was enough to show that it was definitely a treasure. Lin Muyu hurriedly bent down and gently pushed away the soil with her palm. However, she saw a bare, blood-stained lump of iron. She raised her hand and grabbed it, pulling it out with force. The more she pulled, the longer it grew. It was actually an iron rod that was nearly a meter long. To be more specific, it was a long piece of iron. It didn't look like a sword because there was no edge at all. The 2 sides were the same width. Perhaps it was a bit like a clumsy ancient measuring ruler. He jumped out of the deep pit and held the ruler in his hand. The energy fluctuations came from the ruler. "What is this?" Qin Yin tilted her head and asked with a smile. "I don't know either." Lin Muyu took out a water bag and carefully washed it. Immediately, the true appearance of the thing was revealed. It was indeed a ruler, but it was filled with words that Lin Muyu couldn't understand. He handed the ruler to Qin Yin. "Xiao Yin, do you recognize these words?" Qin Yin frowned slightly and looked at it for a long time. She shook her head. "These are obscure ancient words. Xiao Yin can only understand 1 or 2 words. The rest are things I've never seen before. My head hurts." Lin Muyu speechlessly wrapped the metal ruler with a black cloth and carried it on her back together with the dragon spirit sword. She smiled and said, "Forget it, let's hurry on. When we get back, we'll refine this ruler and see what the metal is like. Then let's go." After leaving the ancient temple, they climbed over a mountain and exited the canyon. When night fell, they set up camp in the forest. After setting up a campfire, Lin Muyu continued to patrol the surroundings. After confirming that there was no danger, he entered the tent and slept side by side with Qin Yin. In his sleep, His body suddenly trembled and he slowly woke up. It felt like a dream, but the dream was very real. He dreamt that a man dressed in black had pierced his heart with a sword. This was like a warning. The spiritual pulse technique naturally spread out. Lin Muyu suddenly felt a chill in his heart. He shouted that something was wrong. A powerful force was already in front of him, but he was completely unaware. He reached out and carried Qin Yin, who was still sleeping, out of the room. Shua. In the cold night, a streak of sword light pierced through the tent, splitting the bedding they had just been covering in half. But Lin Muyu's sword was also very fast, quickly shredding the tent. She stood in an open space with Qin Yin and stabbed her long sword at her opponent. It was a man dressed in black. Under the moonlight, his face was very handsome, so beautiful that he didn't seem like a real man. Lin Muyu's sword was fast and ruthless, and it was imbued with the power of her martial soul. The man sneered without the slightest fear. His smile seemed to be mocking her. With a ding, the dragon spirit sword was forcibly knocked away. Lin Muyu didn't even see this person attack. How fast is this sword technique? Whoosh! His sword whistled through the air as fast as lightning. Heavens! Lin Muyu had never seen such a fast sword before. The wall of the gourd only rose halfway before it was pierced. Her shoulder went numb, and her battle armor was already pierced through. Blood flowed out. At the same time, the wall of the gourd enveloped her body. He raised his sword and pounced forward. Wind sword art. Wind symbol art. Ding ding ding. 3 sparks blossomed in the night, and Lin Muyu's 3 swift attacks were all blocked. Her opponent still had a mocking smile on his face, and he thrust his long sword forward like a shooting star in the night. Lin Muyu hurriedly raised her sword to block, but just as the dragon spirit sword came into contact with her opponent's long sword, an invisible suction force seemed to be emitting from her opponent's sword, pulling the dragon spirit sword downwards. However, her opponent's sword still pierced the wall of the gourd. Pooh! The blade of the sword pierced through the wall of the gourd, leaving another wound on Lin Muyu's left arm. At this time, Qin Yin also took out her purple ing sword and swung it from the right, a sword ray imbued with the light of the god-binding chains. Finally, the cold-faced assassin's expression flickered. God-binding chains? With a clever twist of his body, he quickly dodged Qin Yin's attack and swung his sword back. The blade of the sword was like a venomous snake as it struck Qin Yin's wrist. In the next moment, blood flowed down her snow-white wrist, and Qin Yin's right arm drooped at her side. She had already lost the ability to fight. To be able to defeat Qin Yin in one move, just how strong was this person? Buzz buzz. Flames lingered around the long sword as Lin Muyu used fire to control the sword. The dragon spirit sword carried an unstoppable force as it flew out. But at this time, her opponent took a few steps back. Gritting his teeth, a black aura encircled the assassin's arm, and with a shout, he swung his sword through the air. Bang! Flames soared into the sky, and the dragon spirit sword spiraled in the air and landed on the ground, stabbing into the rock with a clang. Lin Muyu secretly complained in his heart. Ever since he became a member of the royal guard, he had never suffered such a loss when he split open the dragon flame's spiral break with one sword. He raised his right arm lightly, and the 7 planets' profound energy madly surged into his body. His body was surrounded by a golden light, and the power of the gourd had been raised to its peak. Lin Muyu was very clear that no matter who this assassin was, if he didn't die today, then it would be her and Qin Yin. Chapter 229. Silhouettes of people, livestock, flowers, plants, and trees emerged from the surrounding wilderness and rose into the sky. Like a star field, they frantically surged towards Lin Muyu's body. This was the place where all living beings once lived. Lin Muyu seemed to have instantly gathered all the remaining life force on this piece of land and punched out with her left fist, which carried the boundless energy. 3 luminaries all calamity. This majestic attack was definitely not something to be underestimated. The disdain in the assassin's eyes disappeared as well. Sweeping his long sword horizontally, his dark battle aura frantically poured into the long sword. He chuckled and said, I didn't expect that there would actually be someone in the future who had mastered such a mysterious martial art. However, it is truly a pity that you are going to die here today. With a shout, as the saying goes, the skilled are bold. This assassin actually slashed out with his sword that was filled with dark battle aura. Was he trying to destroy the third luminary's profound energy with a single slash? Lin Muyu's entire body trembled as she exerted all her strength to gather her battle aura. Milky white battle aura lingered around her body, forming a clear contrast with the mysterious assassin's dark battle aura. Bang! The earth trembled and the surrounding air seemed to have frozen in an instant. A few seconds later, the air suddenly split open and after an explosive sound, the power of the three luminaries' all-calamity instantly collapsed. However, the assassin's sword aura cut through the profound energy and went straight for Lin Muyu's left arm. Was he trying to cut off one of Lin Muyu's arms? Fortunately, Lin Muyu's reaction was extremely agile as she brazenly moved with the star steps. A loud sound rang out behind her as the long sword slashed onto the ground, causing countless gravel to fly out. The assassin let out a cry of surprise as he probably did not expect that Lin Muyu would be able to dodge this attack. However, his figure was extremely fast as he swiftly closed in on her like a phantom. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. He slashed out 3 times consecutively, forcefully pushing away Lin Muyu's dragon spirit sword once again. Pitif! There was a piercing pain as blood splattered from Lin Muyu's left wrist. Furthermore, it was not as simple as an injury, but the tendons of her hand had been cut off by the assassin. Her battle boots rolled away as Lin Muyu retreated in a sorry state. Fresh blood dripped down from her left hand. Not far away, Qin Yin held onto her right arm as her beautiful eyes were filled with despair and sorrow. Lin Muyu did not speak as she quickly retreated with the sword in her right hand. Her beautiful eyes were filled with despair and sorrow. Dark Do Qi circulated on the sword. The face of the swordsman assassin was filled with a faint smile as he said, Brat, your left hand is already crippled. Why don't you obediently accept your death and return the sacred tool to me? Sacred artifact? What sacred artifact? Lin Muyu's eyes turned cold. Stop pretending. The assassin launched himself at Lin Muyu. His long sword transformed into specks of starlight in the air as he slashed at Lin Muyu. Lin Muyu had no choice but to reform her battle armor and the walls of her gourd. However, the defenses of the newly formed gourd walls were very weak, and they shattered in an instant. Lin Muyu was stabbed in the chest again, and she fell to the ground in a sorry state. Hua! Above her head, the assassin's aura surged. He suddenly reached out and grabbed the iron ruler on Lin Muyu's back. Could it be that his real target is this iron ruler? Lin Muyu's heart skipped a beat. She activated the fallen star step in the air and lightly stepped on the ground with her left foot, creating a ripple of starlight. Her nimble body spun in an arc in the air, dodging the opponent's sharp claws. Her boots landed on the arm of the assassin, and with the help of the rebound, she slid more than 10 meters away. She lowered her body slightly to protect the ruler. This was an opportunity. However, his left hand could only hang down, and he could no longer use his strength. The pain of his tendons being cut almost suffocated him, but he did not need to be weak at this time. Weakness would only bring death. He had to be strong and bear everything. Hey, you are really good, but unfortunately, you still have to die. The assassin walked towards Lin Muyu step by step. Suddenly, his body flickered as he shot towards Lin Muyu like a bolt of lightning. His sword swayed in the air, and the angle and speed of the sword completely exceeded Lin Muyu's ability to react. With a poochie sound, a flower of blood bloomed on Lin Muyu's shoulder. Moreover, the assassin did not pull his sword out after stabbing into her shoulder. Instead, he used the momentum to press Lin Muyu's body down, and a large hand once again reached for Lin Muyu's back. He wanted the ruler again. Lin Muyu endured the pain on her shoulder. Her right hand that was holding the dragon spirit sword suddenly flipped, and blood-red Xian energy circulated. Throw caution to the wind, 4th star. The space quickly distorted, and the ghost god constellation danced around. The assassin's heart was only on the ruler. Just as his palm was about to touch the ruler, his abdomen suddenly suffered a blow from the fourth star. The dark dou qi shattered into energy forms and circled around. Finally, the attack was effective. The assassin did not get the ruler, but flew back a few meters, and blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. "Bastard, you dare to injure me?" The assassin wiped the corner of his mouth, and holding the sword, he sneered, "I will grant you another way to die." Lin Muyu's heart was in turmoil. What kind of person was this? He actually took the power of the fourth star head-on and was only lightly injured? Furthermore, from the start to the end, Lin Muyu did not see this person summon his martial spirit. Could it be that he was born without a martial spirit? Moreover, his blood-red eyes seemed to contain a demonic power that was unfathomable. Shio! The sword pierced through the air, and Lin Muyu subconsciously blocked it. However, the opponent's speed was too fast. With a flick of the blade, the dragon spirit sword was easily swung away. His movement speed suddenly increased, and his knee landed heavily on Lin Muyu's abdomen. A suffocating feeling came over, and Lin Muyu instantly lost the ability to fight. His right arm suddenly turned cold, and then a scorching power surged into it. Intense pain came, and his heart instantly turned to ashes. "It's over." The tendons in his right arm were also broken. Even holding the sword was very difficult. Instantly, despair and helplessness filled the entire Yi. "Seven Luminaries Demon Emperor, do you still want to watch the show?" Lin Muyu shouted in the Yi. "If I die, your primordial spirit will also have no place to reside. Let's see how you die." However, the Seven Luminaries Demon Emperor laughed in the Yi. "You weak as a chicken, you finally thought of me at this time? But don't worry, once you're dead, I'll immediately go out and subdue this expert in front of me. To be honest, he's much stronger than you. His body is also more suitable for me than yours." It was over. It seemed like the Seven Luminaries Demon Emperor was not going to help. Furthermore, the Seven Luminaries Demon Emperor did not have a real body. Could the power of a ghost really suppress this mysterious expert in front of him? "Give it to me." The iron ruler had already been grabbed by the assassin. With a forceful pull, it was forcibly pulled out from Lin Muyu's back. "Haha, the demonic weapon is finally in my hands. Haha, I, Qianyun, am the greatest hero of the celestial race." He laughed maniacally. Suddenly, he lowered his head and looked at Lin Muyu, as if he was looking at a dying prey. He slowly raised the iron ruler. Instantly, the iron ruler glowed brightly. The killer laughed heartily. "Seeing that you've helped me find the demon weapon and sacred weapon, I'll grant you a quick death." Lin Muyu's arms were trembling, and he could not muster any strength. He lowered his hand to control the dragon spiritual sword with fire, but he did not even have 10% of his strength left. What threat could my son pose to this mysterious expert? He raised his head. Blood flowed down his forehead and into his eyes, but his gaze was more determined. He said lightly, "Come." The mysterious assassin sneered, and the iron ruler quickly fell. What? At this moment, suddenly, a golden light bloomed on Lin Muyu's forehead. It was the 7th level ability of the Green Gourd Martial Soul, Light of Dawn. Under the bright light, the mysterious expert's eyes were immediately pierced with extreme pain. He hurriedly closed his eyes and roared, "Despicable brat, I will kill you." The iron ruler fell with the wind, but it could not hit him. Lin Muyu had already controlled the dragon spirit sword to return to its sheath. He ran to Qin Yin's side and bent down. "Xiaoyin, get on my back quickly." One of Qin Yin's arms was almost crippled. She hurriedly hugged him with the other hand. Falling star steps, run. As she ran, Lin Muyu did not dare to look back. However, she had already activated the spirit pulse technique. Although her arms were crippled, the strength in her legs was still there. Not far away, Qin Yin's pet, the golden crag swiftwolf, was trembling in the bushes. From the beginning to the end, it did not dare to fight against this mysterious expert. It was as if it was naturally restrained. Behind her, a powerful aura was closing in on her again. Lin Muyu groaned inwardly. She had expended too much of her battle energy, and she was carrying Qin Yin on her back. Her falling star step's movement speed was less than half of what it was at its peak, and she was about to be caught up. "Brother Yu," Qin Yin's beautiful eyes were filled with tears as she said, "Xiao Yin can't be a burden to you anymore. Remember to tell father that Xiao Yin loves him." "What nonsense are you talking about, silly girl?" Lin Muyu scolded. "Shut up and hold me tight." But Qin Yin's arms were slowly loosening. Her tears quickly wetted Lin Muyu's collar. She leaned her face on Lin Muyu's neck and cried, You have to live. Go back and help me take care of father. If Qin Lei and Qin Yan can't take on the responsibility, then let father make you the heir, silly girl." Lin Muyu was secretly anxious. She stopped running and quickly turned around to look at the mysterious assassin who was rushing over like lightning. Just as his long sword was about to pierce into her heart, Lin Muyu suddenly focused all of her spiritual perception on one point and the spirit pulse technique instantly erupted. Soul shock. Wang, the mysterious assassin instantly froze in place. Although it was very short, it gave Lin Muyu some opportunity. She raised her leg and kicked over without hesitation. True dragon essence fire lingered around her boots as she directly attacked the opponent's Qi. No matter who he was, his dark battle energy originated from his Qi. Lin Muyu had already seen this very clearly. Bang! It was a heavy blow. Unfortunately, the assassin's battle armor was very sturdy. This kick couldn't cripple his Qi. Lin Muyu pulled away and walked away, shouting, "Xiao Yin, hold me tight. Don't give up until the last moment." "Goddamned bastard." The assassin woke up from the soul shock. In the short span of 3 seconds, he felt that he had suffered the greatest humiliation since his birth. He jumped up with the iron ruler in his hand. Lin Muyu didn't even look back. She locked onto the opponent's position with the spirit pulse technique and suddenly swayed. Under the technique of the sword control technique, the demonic noise saber quickly flew out and disappeared in the air. "What is this?" The assassin looked at the sky in shock. In the next moment, a kacha sound rang out and a huge wound was cut open on his leg. The wound was so deep that bone could be seen. If Lin Muyu's battle energy was a little stronger, she might have been able to cut off his entire leg. "Bastard!" In a rage, the assassin threw the iron ruler out with extreme speed. Chapter 230. Carrying Qin Yin on her back, Lin Muyu naturally couldn't let Qin Yin take the hit. Her body was frail, but Lin Muyu herself had tempered her skin and bones. She turned around and gathered her battle armor in front of her chest. Bang! The iron ruler was sent flying, but Lin Muyu coughed up a mouthful of blood. 2 of her ribs were broken, and the pain was excruciating. She didn't have time to think about it. She activated her falling star steps and dashed off into the distance with Qin Yin on her back. One of the assassin's legs had been crippled. This was Lin Muyu's only hope. The demonic noise saber flew back into its sheath. After sprinting for close to 2 hours, Lin Muyu's legs started to feel weak. What's worse was that her arms were already covered in blood. It was a frightening sight. Lin Muyu even felt that her mind was a little blank, as if she would faint at any time. "Xiao Yin, I'm afraid I can't hold on much longer," he said weakly. Tears welled up in Qin Yin's eyes. She nodded and said softly, We're almost at the river. Let's stop. That person shouldn't be chasing us anymore. You have to heal your wounds." Lin Muyu fell to the ground, taking Qin Yin with her. At that moment, the Gold Rock Swift Wolf emerged from the forest, wagging its tail and blinking at Qin Yin. Qin Yin couldn't blame it. She could sense the Gold Rock Swift Wolf's fear of that mysterious assassin. It was as if it was innate. Taking out a bunch of medicine bottles from her spatial pouch, Lin Muyu looked through them carefully. "This is muscle replenishing powder. It can prolong the tendons in my arms, so I won't become a cripple in the future. Hurry up and apply it on my wounds. Then use recovery medicine and gold wound medicine. Don't miss anything. Xiao Yin, your injuries aren't light either. Hurry up and apply the medicine." "Got it? I'll heal you first." Qin Yin quickly applied the medicine to Lin Muyu. When she saw the deep cut on Lin Muyu's wrist, she almost broke down. She cried as she applied the medicine. Lin Muyu was lying tiredly under a withered pine tree. After applying the muscle-replenishing powder, her right arm seemed to have regained some strength. She gently lifted it and placed it on Qin Yin's shoulder. She smiled and said, "Don't cry. We're already very lucky that we're not dead." Qin Yin quietly wiped away her tears and said, "Big brother Yu, who exactly is that person? Why is he so strong? That kind of terrifying power. It's even more tyrannical than a saint." "Yes, and his swordsmanship is also superb." Lin Muyu closed her eyes and said, "His swordsmanship is completely different from the inherited swordsmanship of the Empire. I really can't understand it. Sai, I'm the winner of the sword duel tournament, but my swordsmanship is nothing compared to his. And this person, he didn't even use his martial soul. The characteristics of his battle chi are also different from ours. It's a kind of dark and evil battle chi. It's pervasive and very domineering. Yes." Qin Yin bandaged his wounds. Seeing that his sleeves were full of blood, her tears fell again. "This person should be from a legendary foreign race. He's a type of person that hasn't been recorded in our history books. That iron ruler, he said it was a sacred weapon and also a demonic weapon. What exactly is it?" "I don't know either. Big brother Yu, can you feel the power from the iron ruler?" "Yes, it's a very vigorous power. I can even feel that the iron ruler contains a what?" Qin Yin asked. Lin Muyu thought for a moment and said, "A very vigorous righteousness. But if it's vigorous righteousness, how can it be called a demonic weapon? And it's something that kind of person wants. It must be a murder weapon." Yes. At this time, on the other side of the mountain range, a strange scene was happening. Under a towering tree, the handsome man's eyes were blood red. Dark do chi quietly flowed all over his body. His body was spinning upside down in the air. His posture looked very strange. The wound on his right leg was very frightening. His entire leg looked like it had been sliced in half. However, he was using a very strange iron ruler to press against the wound. Threads of green light surged out from the iron ruler to nourish the wound. Immediately, one could see that the wound was recovering and healing at a rapid pace. This scene was extremely strange. He opened his eyes and let out a breath of turbid air. He said to himself, "There's actually such a strong practitioner in the human world. Goddamn, what's with that kid's flying knife? It can actually be seen by my demonic eyes. It's really strange. The profound spirit ruler is indeed worthy of being one of the 9 great Buddhist weapons. This mighty righteousness can really speed up the healing of injuries. After my injuries are healed, I'll go and kill that kid to prevent future troubles." Lin Muyu and Qin Yin naturally didn't know that danger was approaching. Lin Muyu relied on the best quality elixirs and the recovery of the gourd to quickly heal his injuries. But she didn't expect that the opponent's injury would heal even faster. In the distance, the cool breeze blew the smell of the river. They were less than a mile away from Dao River. Qin Yin didn't dare to light a fire. She ate some dry rations and drank some water with Lin Muyu. The night wind was cold. Lin Muyu's injuries hadn't healed yet, so he only knew how to shiver. Qin Yin's heart ached so much that her tears were about to fall. She hugged him and used her own body temperature to keep him warm. Lin Muyu didn't dare to slack off. She continued to extend her spiritual pulse technique. This assassin was able to quietly approach her. This meant that he had the ability to hide his aura. This kind of opponent was simply too terrifying. However, perhaps because of his injuries, the ability to hide his aura wasn't 100%. 2 hours later, Lin Muyu suddenly opened her eyes. Her hands had a trace of strength. She said, "Xiao Yin, he's here again." Qin Yin was shocked. What should we do?" "Go to Dao River." "What do you want to do?" "Nothing much." Lin Muyu stood up. Her hands were still hanging at her sides. She faintly smiled, "But we can't just die like this. Only death awaits us here. But if we seek outside help, perhaps we will have a sliver of a chance." You want to use the strength of the frost armor dragons at the bottom of the river? What else? Let's go. Yes. Even though Qin Yin didn't want to face the densely packed frost armor dragons, she was even more unwilling to face the approaching death god. That mysterious assassin might be even more frightening than the frost armor dragons. The two quickly set off. They had lost their horses, so they could only walk. Fortunately, Lin Muyu's legs weren't injured, so her speed wasn't too affected. However, the tendons in her arms had been cut off. Even though she had applied the muscle-replenishing powder, she was still powerless. The tendons in her arms were slowly regenerating. If she used too much force at this time, she would definitely snap them off again. At that time, it would be even more troublesome. But if that person really chased after them, she might not be able to escape without using her arms. The river water was fresh and clear. Under the moonlight, the ripples in the distance were clear and crystalline. But who would know that countless frost-armored dragons were hidden under the beautiful ripples? Under the effect of the spiritual pulse technique, that person was getting closer and closer. Lin Muyu slowly pulled out the dragon spirit sword. She didn't dare to use too much force. She slowly cut off a section of her blood-stained sleeve and threw it into the river. Soon, those frost-armored dragons would be able to smell the blood and flock over. Hopefully, those frost-armored dragons would be of some help. Xiao Yin, go hide on that tree. Lin Muyu pointed to a huge pine tree in the distance. No. Qin Yin slowly shook her head. Her eyes were clear. She smiled and said, Big brother you, Xiao Yin isn't useless. Let me protect you this time, okay? She had already made up her mind. The power of the golden god-binding chains appeared around her body. Lin Muyu could only smile bitterly and say, all right then. If we can't escape together, then we will be buried in the river together. Qin Yin smiled and said, I didn't think that my final ending would be like this. I originally thought that I would be able to ascend to the throne. That's fine too. Maybe this kind of death will save me a lot of pain. Moreover, I will be together with Big Brother you. Lin Muyu nodded and said, he's here. Lure him to the riverside. Okay. Not far away, the assassin walked over with a long sword in one hand and an iron ruler in the other. He was limping. After a series of bitter battles, he had taken a blow from the fourth element and was slashed by the demonic noise saber. His strength had been reduced to less than 40%. This was the best opportunity for Lin Muyu and Qin Yin. Xiao Yin used the 7-string jade zither? Lin Muyu smiled and said. Qin Yin quickly took out her zither from her space bag. She wrapped the zither in a dense layer of fighting aura. Golden god-binding chains wrapped around the princess like ribbons. Ding! The sound of the zither rang out, and a golden shockwave immediately pounced toward the assassin in the distance. He quickly turned around and dodged the attack. The short tree behind him was instantly cut into two. Heh! The assassin sneered and suddenly rushed over. He stomped on the ground and rolled in the air to get close to Qin Yin's position. However, before his sword could land, a gourd vine suddenly broke out from the ground and wrapped around his feet. It forcefully pulled him down. Demonic noise saber. Lin Muyu's body flashed and the demonic noise saber whizzed out. However, the assassin's reaction was even faster. He exerted force on his feet and shattered the gourd. He closed his eyes in the air and suddenly smashed the iron ruler. Bang! The demonic noise saber was sent flying. As expected of a peerless expert, he quickly found the weakness of the demonic noise saber. He relied on his hearing and not his eyes. Hand over your life. The sword fell down from the sky and directly slashed at Qin Yin's head. Lin Muyu suddenly pressed her palm on Qin Yin's back and smiled, Goodbye, Xiao Yin. Bang! A soft vibration came over and made Qin Yin fall forward for dozens of meters. She avoided the fatal sword. Lin Muyu looked up at the powerful enemy in the sky. She raised her palm and the gourd vine flew out. It wrapped around the assassin's arm and pulled him toward her. At the same time, her body leaned back and directly fell into the rice river. The river water was thoroughly cold. Moreover, the spiritual power surged and a dense evil aura quickly swam over. Chapter 231. You want to drag me into the water? Dream on. The assassin swept a palm through the air, instantly shattering the gourd vines that had bound his arm and neck. However, before he had a chance to gloat over his victory, a sharp pain suddenly erupted from his ankle. A metal spear that was emanating dense frost energy had pierced through the wound on his leg. It was none other than Lin Muyu's pear blossom spear. Slap, slap. A pair of flexible gourd vines instantly wrapped themselves around the pear blossom spear, forcibly dragging the assassin into the river. Ice-cold river water poured directly into his mouth, eyes, and ears, and Lin Muyu let loose a low roar as she grabbed onto the gourd vines with one hand, quickly dragging the assassin into the river. You're courting death. The assassin's killing intent became even more ferocious in the river, and he swam directly toward Lin Muyu before abruptly smashing his iron ruler into her shoulder. A loud crack rang out, and Lin Muyu's shoulder blade was most likely broken. Disregarding the pain, she injected all of her battle chi into her martial soul, and countless threads of gourd vines bound herself and the assassin together. Even if she were to die, she was going to drag him down with her. She couldn't allow this assassin to kill Qin Yin. In the water, the domineering power of the dark battle chi had been significantly weakened, and the gourd vines had completely gained the upper hand. Even so, Lin Muyu was still at a complete disadvantage. The assassin gently spread open his palm, and his battle chi erupted forth with astonishing force, instantly creating a series of explosive shockwaves in the river. Lin Muyu bore the brunt of the attack, and her clothes were completely shredded while her skin was stained with blood. He held onto his opponent with all his might with his left arm, and his right hand gripped onto the dragon spirit sword as he slashed out from the side. The river water was quickly dyed red. You bastard! The assassin cursed with rage, but the river water quickly flowed into his mouth, preventing him from doing so. As such, he could only swing his fists through the air, striking Lin Muyu's battle armor and body over and over again. Slap. After a heavy blow, Lin Muyu's left arm was almost numb. The bones in her arm had been completely shattered. This assassin's strength was full of destruction. It was simply not a strength that a human could possess. He was so excited that he actually pounced forward and bit Lin Muyu's shoulder, forcibly tearing off a piece of flesh. Blood flowed, and the river water became even more turbid. At this moment, a black shadow had already swam over, following the scent of fresh blood. Lin Muyu's dying consciousness allowed him to dodge. The gourd vines wrapped around his body and rapidly sank downwards. Immediately, the frost-armored horned dragon's four blade-like arms swept across the assassin's body. Dang, dang, dang. There was the sound of metal colliding with stone. The sharp knife arm could not break through the assassin's protective upstanding chi. The assassin raised his sword-like eyebrows and cursed again, "Bastard!" Then he punched out. The river water instantly surged, and the 2,100-year-old frost-armored horned dragon instantly disintegrated into a pile of minced meat. However, after killing one frost-armored horned dragon, even more frost-armored horned dragons were attracted to him. Swarms of horned dragons charged at him from all directions. They opened their bloody mouths and bit the assassin's arms, legs, abdomen, and head, as if they were going to tear him apart in an instant. Lin Muyu took advantage of this opportunity to use the gourd vines to protect herself. After all, the frost-armored horned dragons were not vegetarians, so they would not directly attack the gourd vines. How infuriating! An angry roar burst forth from the river water. The assassin's entire body was covered in blood chi. Dark fighting aura swirled around him like a magical illusion, forcefully shattering the bodies of 7 to 8 frost-armored horned dragons. Half the river water was dyed red just like that. Moreover, the huge waves created by this attack were spreading in all directions. This kind of power that could overturn rivers and seas was clearly not something that a human could possess. However, the assassin's complexion was getting worse and worse. He swung his iron ruler and smashed the head of a frost-armored horned dragon. At the same time, his leg was bitten by a 3,700-year-old frost-armored horned dragon. A large chunk of flesh was torn off by another frost-armored horned dragon. Another horned dragon was biting his left arm, refusing to let go no matter how hard he struggled. This was the ferocity of a horned dragon. "Let go!" The assassin roared and raised his iron ruler. With one strike, the horned dragon's skull was smashed. However, the horned dragon still refused to let go. With another strike, the horned dragon's entire brain was splattered. Finally, the assassin slowly let go. However, at the same time, the assassin's waist was bitten again. A large chunk of flesh was torn off, and his intestines could be seen flowing into the river water. The battle was simply too tragic. Just at this moment, there was a sharp cry and the river water rose into the sky. A huge creature rushed out from the depths of the river. It was a group of frost-armored horned dragons with 14 golden patterns on their heads. They were 14,000 years old ancient beasts. Pooh! This 10,000-year-old horned dragon opened its mouth and bit down on the assassin's head, grinding and chewing with its sharp teeth. The assassin was still roaring in rage. He swung his iron ruler and smashed it on the head of the 10,000-year-old horned dragon, shattering its scales inch by inch. He was so fierce that he seemed to have turned into a wild beast. But in the end, he was still too weak. His legs were quickly torn apart and devoured by the horned dragons. A cracking sound came from his head as his skull exploded. Pooh! The 10,000-year-old horned dragon bit off the assassin's head and chewed with great force. Its brown eyes were filled with satisfaction. Lin Muyu saw this and swam towards the shore. A gourd vine shot out and wrapped around the iron ruler. This thing could shatter the scales of a 10,000-year-old dragon serpent. It was definitely a good treasure. At the same time, the assassin's body shattered into pieces after his death, leaving behind a black demonic bead that fell into the depths of the river. That demonic bead was filled with spiritual energy. Lin Muyu naturally would not let go of such a great opportunity. A gourd leaf quickly wrapped around the black demonic bead and dragged it towards Lin Muyu with the help of the gourd vine. However, the price of greed was extremely heavy. In that instant, the 14,000-year-old horned dragon had already rushed over. It opened its bloody mouth and bit down on Lin Muyu's left arm. But Lin Muyu did not feel any pain. Her left arm had long been crippled. More and more horned dragons rushed over, forming a dense black mass. They were like giant pythons that were spitting out their tongues. Their eyes were filled with greed and it was extremely frightening. No matter how fiercely she struggled, she could not break free from the horned dragon's giant mouth. At this time, Qin Yin's voice came from the shore. "I'm here to save you. No, I cannot let Qin Yin be in danger." At this moment, Lin Muyu did not hesitate. He raised his hand and swung the dragon spirit sword. With a flash, his entire left arm was sent flying. His eyes were filled with blood as he retreated while spitting out blood. But he was still laughing sinisterly at the group of frost-armored horned dragons. F***ck your ancestors, don't you just want to eat me? At most, I'll feed you an arm. Fresh blood flowed and a bone-chilling pain came from his left arm. Lin Muyu rushed ashore in a sorry state. The gourd vines behind him suddenly spread out to form a wall of green vines, forcefully blocking the charge of the horned dragons. Holding the long sword, his entire body was covered in blood. He shouted at Qin Yin in a frightening manner, "Stupid girl, what's there to save? Run for your lives." He opened his right hand and grasped the dragon spirit sword, iron ruler, and demonic bead. Then he ran with Qin Yin with all his might. On the other side, the golden crag swift wolf followed them with its tail between its legs. Lin Muyu glanced at it and said indifferently, "Evil creature, what use do I have for you?" Looking at Lin Muyu's severed arm, Qin Yin trembled in fear. Tears flowed from her eyes. "Big brother your arm, your arm." Lin Muyu's body was also in pain, but his heart was even more pained. What did losing an arm mean to a martial artist? Perhaps after losing an arm, he would only have about 60% of his original strength. In this way, it seemed like he didn't even have the qualifications to be ranked among the wind, rain, thunder, and lightning generals. After madly running for several miles, they left the Daojiang River. This Daojiang River didn't seem like a mother river at all. For Lin Muyu and Qin Yin, this place was like purgatory. Seeing Lin Muyu's injuries, Qin Yin couldn't stop crying. What else could she do besides cry? That arm was already gone. Rest for a bit, I can't run anymore. Lin Muyu's body trembled. The pain from his severed arm almost made him faint. Trembling, he took out a bottle of healing medicine and said to Qin Yin, "Xiao Yin, help me apply medicine." Qin Yin's tears blurred her vision. She nodded and clutched the medicine bottle, her body trembling slightly. At this moment, the voice of the 7 luminaries demon emperor came from the depths of his Ihai. "Lin Ruoji, hey, Lin Ruoji." Although he was in a sorry state, he couldn't let go of his pride. Lin Muyu raised his eyebrows and said, "Demon, who are you calling Lin Ruoji?" "I'm talking about you. You're Lin Ruoji. A group of worms at the bottom of the river made you lose your arm and run for your life. Do you think you're a lizard?" "Ah, Lin Ruoji, Lin Ruoji." Mother ** curse 7 luminaries demon emperor. Lin Muyu started cursing. The 7 luminaries demon emperor seemed to have never been so happy before. He cackled, "Lin Ruoji, you're really pitiful. In order to protect Her Highness, you ended up in such a sorry state. Do you think Her Highness will marry you? She's just using you. Silly boy, Lin Ruoji, ha. If you say one more word about Lin Ruoji, I'll take you down with me." Lin Muyu said with a murderous intent. The 7 luminaries demon emperor knew that this kid was a madman. He didn't dare to provoke him anymore. He only said, "Brother Ruoji, I only have one question for you. Do you still want to be a healthy person? Do you want your left arm?" "How am I not healthy?" "You're already an incomplete man. Get lost, 7 luminaries demon emperor. You son of AB***. #. Lin Muyu cursed. He realized that the pain in his body seemed to have lessened after venting his anger. Who was the 7 brilliance demon monarch? He was the strongest person in history. He did not hold a grudge against Qin Nan. He said with a smile, "Brother Weak, you should talk to me nicely if you want your arm back. I might even be able to help you." "You help me? What are you after?" "You, Lin Ruoji, are a substitute for me, the 7 luminaries demon emperor. Before I find a new body, I don't want you to become useless. Besides, if I succeed in taking over your body one day, this body will be mine. I don't want to be an incomplete man." Lin Muyu said calmly, "My arm has already been eaten by the horned dragon. Tell me, how can I get my left arm back?" "Idiot, don't you know that you're sitting on a mountain of treasures?" The 7 luminaries demon emperor mocked. "You're indeed a pitiful weakling. Look at the metal ruler in your hand. Can you feel the spiritual energy and rebirth energy within it? Let me tell you, this iron ruler is a good treasure. Refine it and rely on its rebirth power to reconstruct your body. Also, that black bead is also a good thing. Refine and absorb it as well to replenish the lost strength of your arm. Perhaps you can even recover 80 to 90% of your lost cultivation." "Really? Nonsense. Can't you feel the energy within the metal ruler? How are you going to thank me for helping you so much? Tell me, how do you want me to thank you? You scolded me for so long just now, but I didn't even reply. Now, you're going to repay me by scolding you, but you can't even reply. I can scold you for as long as I want. What do you think?" Lin Muyu gritted her teeth, "Then scold me all you want." "Good, you're a straightforward person indeed." The 7 luminaries demon emperor was a straightforward person. He ignored the fact that Lin Muyu needed to concentrate on refining the metal ruler and started scolding her in Tianjin dialect. "Look at you, dog food. You're really unlikable. Do you have Yang Qiu in your head?" After scolding her for a while, he continued scolding her in Hunan dialect for another 20 minutes before switching to Shanghai dialect for half an hour. In the end, Lin Muyu spent 5 hours refining the metal ruler while the 7 luminaries demon emperor spent 5 hours scolding her. Finally, he was tired and went to rest in the depths of his Ihai. Lin Muyu broke out in cold sweat. Refining the metal ruler had reached a critical juncture. There was no room for error. Chapter 232. An endless stream of life energy flowed from the iron ruler into Lin Muyu's body. The iron ruler trembled continuously as the metal on its surface melted away, revealing the green substance within. Streaks of golden light flowed within. This golden light was the righteous energy that Lin Muyu had sensed. This iron ruler was definitely not as simple and unadorned as it appeared to be. It was a mysterious treasure that was unknown to the world. Just as the iron ruler was completely refined, streaks of ancient runes slowly rose up and circled around Lin Muyu's body. It was so beautiful that Qin Yin, who was standing outside the crafting cauldron, widened her eyes in shock. Lin Muyu's body was being reconstructed. The iron ruler's energy automatically sought out the wounds on his body and healed them. At first, the recovery energy was like a trickle that healed the sword wounds on Lin Muyu's shoulder and chest. But when this energy flowed to the stump of his arm, it suddenly surged in like a raging river. Streaks of golden ancient runes circled around the stump of his arm and quickly formed an arm of energy. As Lin Muyu's blood flowed into the stump of his arm, the reconstruction process became visible to the naked eye. Wang. The crafting cauldron trembled violently. Lin Muyu endured great pain as his entire left arm gradually regained feeling. The burning sensation was almost enough to swallow his spirit sense. Even with his strong spirit sense, he couldn't help but let out a miserable howl as he knelt on the ground. His right arm was propped up on the ground while his left arm was completely golden. His flesh and veins were being reconstructed at a visible rate. His entire body was trembling as his battle energy was raised to the extreme, forming a milky white wave of energy that struck the surroundings. Qin Yin let out a soft cry and hastily summoned the god-binding chains in front of her to defend against Lin Muyu's attack. But what Qin Yin didn't expect was that Lin Muyu's current strength seemed to be even stronger than before. She felt as if she couldn't withstand Lin Muyu's attack. As for the gold-crag swift wolf, it was hiding somewhere with its tail between its legs. After an unknown period of time, the entire left arm had completely regrown. However, the surface of the left arm was glowing with a faint golden light and was surrounded by steam. Lin Muyu channeled her qi into the left arm and found that her qi was like a drop of water falling into the roots of a tree. It was like trying to put out a burning cart of firewood with a cup of water. The left arm's search for power was far more than that. It seemed that the left arm was also yearning for the injection of qi. Lin Muyu howled in pain. Her entire left arm was numb and painful. At this time, Lulu, who was an Ehai, flew out and said, "Brother, the 7 luminaries demon emperor asked you to refine the pearl left behind by the assassin's primordial spirit. Perhaps it can make up for the strength needed for your left arm." Lin Muyu hurriedly took out the pearl that was filled with power. The 6th layer of the heavenly fire inside the treasure refining cauldron flew up and quickly melted the pearl. Suddenly, a vast amount of dark qi flowed everywhere inside the treasure refining cauldron. "No, this dark qi conflicts with my physique." Lin Muyu frowned. "It doesn't matter." Lulu blinked her eyes and said, "This dark fighting energy and the light fighting energy humans have come from the same source. Using the heavenly fire to refine it can be converted into fighting energy that Big Brother can absorb." After refining it for nearly half an hour, the dark qi slowly turned white. As if it had a mind of its own, it flowed into her left arm. It surged endlessly, as if a whole river of power was flowing into her left arm. Lin Muyu suddenly raised his head and let out a sigh of relief. At this moment his left arm was truly reborn. When the entire pearl had been refined and absorbed, the light around his left arm slowly dissipated. It was no different from his original arm. Only Lin Muyu himself knew the real difference. The power contained in this arm shocked even him. He put away the treasure refining cauldron. The clothes on his upper body had already been torn off. He had no choice but to take out a set of gold star sparring master armor from the holy temple from his cosmos sack and put it on. Otherwise, it would be inappropriate for him to eat his upper body in front of the princess. Moreover, they were deep in the mountains. Even if he wore the holy temple armor, it would not matter. There was no need to hide here. The people from the House of Chivalry would not be able to reach here before they were killed by the spiritual beasts. Looking at Lin Muyu's reconstructed body, Qin Yin was wild with joy. "Brother Yu, your arm, is it really fine?" "Yes." Lin Muyu nodded. "The iron ruler contained a very strong life force. I refined it, so the life force in the iron ruler and the blood in my body reconstructed this arm. How magical!" There were still traces of tears on Qin Yin's face, but she was in high spirits. She held Lin Muyu's new left arm and gently touched it. The skin, pores, and veins were no different from an ordinary person, just stronger. "Will this arm be even stronger?" Qin Yin blinked and said, "Xiao Yin can feel that your strength has increased a lot." "Is that so?" Lin Muyu smiled and tried to cross his left arm. He suddenly let out a low roar and circulated his fighting energy. However, just as he was circulating his energy, he felt a force in his left arm that seemed to be waiting for him to awaken. He used his fighting energy to activate it. The next moment, a shocking scene happened. Bang! Golden light shone brightly, and the shape of a golden true dragon circled around his left arm, as if protecting this arm. It was like a shield, but the strength of its strength was clearly not something an ordinary shield could compare to. "Is this the power of the Iron Ruler?" Lin Muyu asked in shock. Qin Yin smiled faintly. "It shouldn't be just the Iron Ruler. The assassin said that this Iron Ruler is a sacred weapon, a demonic weapon. Congratulations, brother Yu. It seems that your true dragon bloodline has already merged with the power of the sacred weapon. That's why you obtained this. Oh, I should call it the true dragon arm, right?" Maybe that's really the case. Lin Muyu was overjoyed. "It's a blessing in disguise. I thought that after losing my left arm, my cultivation would be ruined. I didn't expect to obtain an even stronger left arm." "How are your injuries now?" "More than half healed." Lin Muyu walked forward and looked at Qin Yin's shoulder. It was covered with blood. Qin Yin's injuries now seemed to be far more serious than his own. He said with distress. "On the contrary, Xiao Yin's injuries are still very serious." He looked up at the sky and said, "It's almost dawn. Let's go find the warhorse immediately. Otherwise, I don't know when we will reach Miyu City." Fortunately, the warhorse did not go far. It only gnawed on the grass near the temple. The luggage on the horse's back was still there, but the tent was torn into pieces. However, Lin Muyu still put the tent away. It should still be able to be used after some mending. After a quick breakfast, they continued on their journey. Lin Muyu was now wearing the armor and boots of the holy temple. Naturally, it was even more impossible to walk on the main road. So, he continued to walk on the small path with Qin Yin. After nightfall, the tent was mended and set up again. After eating, Qin Yin went into the tent to recuperate. Lin Muyu gripped the dragon spirit sword tightly and stood guard about 3 meters away from the tent. She stood there motionless like a statue. Voila! The tent door was opened. Qin Yin poked her head out and said with a smile, "You, come in and rest." "No need." Lin Muyu shook her head and said, "I will guard outside from now on. Xiao Yin will sleep. I will take a nap during the day. I will rely on you to lead the way." The appearance of this killer made Lin Muyu completely vigilant. There was actually someone in this world who could avoid the detection of the spirit pulse technique and get close to him. If he was too superstitious about the spirit pulse technique, he might lose his and Qin Yin's lives. So, it was better to stay awake at night. His attitude was more resolute, so Qin Yin did not say much. She went back into the tent and fell into a deep sleep. The next morning, the wild pheasants in the dragon-seeking forest were actually chirping. Qin Yin woke up slowly. A beam of sunlight shone on her face through the gap in the tent. She stretched and opened the tent. When she looked outside, she was stunned. She saw Lin Muyu sitting on a rock with his hand on the hilt of his sword. His white cloak was scattered behind him, but his face, eyebrows, and shoulders were all covered with a layer of frost. Qin Yin's heart skipped a beat. She rushed out and hugged him. "Are you okay?" Lin Muyu slowly opened his eyes. There was a strange luster in his eyes, but it disappeared in a flash. He smiled and said, "I am fine." "What's wrong, Xiaoyin?" "You are covered in frost." "You scared me." Qin Yin stuck out her tongue and laughed. I am fine. Don't worry." For the next few days, Lin Muyu only had to hurry on with her journey. Along the way, she killed a few spirit beasts and fed them to the Golden Rock Swift Wolf. The Golden Rock Swift Wolf's cultivation had increased by 50 years. It seemed that raising a pet was a good idea. Lin Muyu couldn't help but start thinking about her pet. What kind of pet would be most suitable? First of all, it had to have a good bloodline. It could not be like the Golden Rock Swift Wolf. Although it was an overlord among wolves, it was still a wild wolf. It was useless against a horned dragon or a real powerhouse. Perhaps she should tame a dragon? The umbrella dragon's rank was too low. It was useless among the dragons. The dragon snake was strong, but its bloodline was not even as good as the umbrella dragon. As for the true dragon, forget it. Even if she could find it, she wouldn't be able to defeat it. Lin Muyu knew her limits very well. On the 11th day after leaving Lanyan City, they finally entered the territory of Muyu City. They could already see patrols coming and going on the official road from afar. These scouts wore the insignia of a spear on their shoulders. They were all from Muyu City. They also wore the insignia of the Empire's purple Yinhua. "Xiaoyin, we are ready to enter the city." Lin Muyu smiled as he held the reins. He was wearing the Holy Temple armor. It was too heavy for the skinny horse, so he decided to let it go. Qin Yin rode on her warhorse and smiled. Yeah. But at this moment, a group of soldiers in the Empire's uniforms suddenly appeared in the forest behind them. All of them drew their longbows, and one of them shouted, "Who are you people?" Chapter 233. There were more than 50 people in total. None of them were very strong. There was only a captain who was at the first level of the Earth Realm. He was not worth mentioning. These people were the patrolling army of Muyu City. They were equivalent to the Imperial Army of Muyu City. Lanyan City had a population of 5 million and a garrison of 180,000. Muyu City had a population of 4 million and a total of 250,000 soldiers. They were even stronger than the garrison of the Imperial Army. Lin Muyu walked forward in her Holy Temple armor. She smiled and said, "Don't you recognize this outfit?" The captain took a closer look and became serious. He cupped his fists respectfully and said, "So you are from the Holy Temple? But the people from the Holy Temple do not have much interaction with our Yunzhong province. Lord, you must have something to do in Muyu City, right? Please show me your clearance document. Otherwise, I will not let you enter Muyu City." "I don't have a clearance document." Lin Muyu was startled. It seemed that Qin Jin did not mention anything about clearance documents. "Then did you come from the dragon-seeking forest?" the captain asked. "Yes, we followed the Rice River all the way here." "Inqiang?" A trace of shock flashed across the captain's face as he said, "Did you really come from Inqiang?" Heavens! Yun Gong had already ordered a section of Dao River's dragon-seeking forest to be a forbidden hunting zone half a year ago. There are extremely terrifying demons hidden there. Did nothing happen on your way here? Lin Muyu didn't want to talk about the countless frost-armored horned dragons in Rice River, so she said, "We're quite a distance away from Rice River. We didn't wade through the water, so we don't know what happened in Rice River. But now, I want to enter Muyu City to see Duke Yun. Can I trouble you to bring me into the city?" "See Lord Yun?" The captain was startled and said, "I have never heard of Lord Yun having any relationship with the people from the Holy Temple." "Lord, if you want to see Lord Yun, you need to tell us first. Who are you in the Holy Temple? Since you are from Venus, you should be famous all over the world." "I am Lin Muyu." A group of patrolling soldiers of Muyu City was stunned. The people who were originally at war with each other put down their bows and arrows, and several cavalrymen who were riding on the horses quickly dismounted and looked at Lin Muyu respectfully. If the boy in front of them was really Lin Muyu, then they could not neglect him. After all, he was one of the 3 commanders of the Imperial Guard, the second of the 4 heroes of Lanyan, and also the adopted son of the emperor. A slight neglect would be an unpardonable crime. The squad leader said respectfully, "Sir, are you really the champion of the sword duel tournament, the legendary wild General Lin Muyu? Is there anything wrong with that? Then, please forgive me for my disrespect. How will you prove yourself?" Lin Muyu was speechless. She reached for the token of the General of the South. But at this moment, suddenly, Qin Yin, who was behind him, lifted the cloak on top of her head. Suddenly, a stunning and beautiful face appeared in front of everyone. She raised the corner of her mouth and said with a faint smile, "Can I be the proof?" Everyone was stunned. The squad leader's throat moved a little, and he said with a dry mouth, "I have seen you before. You are Her Highness Yin." Qin Yin nodded. "Yes, so you know me. Then it will be easy." The group of people knelt down and formed a circle around her. Hundreds of cavalrymen also rushed over from the distant road. After hearing that it was Qin Yin, they all dismounted and knelt on both sides of the road. Lin Muyu stood next to Qin Yin. There was a sense of accomplishment. So this was the feeling of absolute power. "Get up." Qin Yin smiled and raised her hand. "This time I came to Muyu City in disguise because I have something to discuss with my grandfather. All of you, get on your horses and don't let anyone know. Take me into the city to see my grandfather." "Yes, Your Highness." A Chiliarch came forward and grabbed the reins of Qin Yin's horse, saying, "This general will lead the horse for Your Highness." However, Qin Yin smiled and said, "There's no need for that. Just treat me as a member of the team. I told you not to make it public." "Yes, Your Highness, this general will obey." "Big brother, you, get on the horse. We are going into the city." Qin Yin smiled. Lin Muyu finally felt safe. A large group of cavalrymen surrounded the two of them as they slowly entered Muyu City. Muyu City was one of the three major cities in the north of the empire. Along with Qihai City and Tongtian City, it was one of the northernmost cities. The climate here was much colder than that of Lanyan City, and the Iron Army of the empire was forged here. When Qin Jin ascended the throne, the world was in chaos. The northern desert invaded and the southern barbarians invaded the north. At that time, he married Su Muyun's daughter, Su Yun. She was the Empress of Jingda, and also Qin Yin's mother. Now that the world was settled, this marriage was more like an iron chain that bound Lanyan City and Muyu City together. After entering the city, Lin Muyu looked around. The city was orderly, and the public security was even better than that of Lanyan City. Moreover, she could see smiles on the faces of the commoners on the streets, which made Lin Muyu very pleased. The smiles on the people's faces showed that they were not under great pressure. Duke Muyun's governance ability was remarkable. After walking on the street for nearly 20 minutes, a group of armored cavalry approached from the front. There seemed to be nearly 1,000 of them. A middle-aged man, who was about 45 years old or so, dismounted from his horse and walked forward with a smile on his face. He said, "I, Su Qin, pay my respects to Her Highness Yin." Qin Yin giggled and dismounted from the horse. She held his arm and said with a smile, "Uncle, you are too kind, Xiao Yin. Get up quickly." Su Qin laughed and looked at Qin Yin. Su Qin laughed heartily. He looked Qin Yin up and down and said, "The last time I saw you, little Yin, you were only 15 years old. Now you're already so slender and elegant. No wonder there are rumors in the empire that little Yin is the #1 beauty in the world." Qin Yin said with a smile, "Uncle, let me introduce you. This is Lin Muyu, my father's adopted son and Xiao Yin's adopted brother." Lin Muyu dismounted from the horse and walked forward. She cupped her fists respectfully and said, "Greetings, Commander Su Qin." Su Qin was the only son of Duke Muyun. He controlled the 100,000 Iron Blade army. In terms of military power, few people in the world could beat him. "You are too polite." Su Qin cupped his hands and stepped forward. His fists were overflowing with dou qi. The distance between his fists and Lin Muyu's was about 10 centimeters. The dou qi quickly collided. This made Lin Muyu quite surprised. This uncle wanted to test her ability the moment they met? So she gathered her strength and pure Do Qi came out of her body. In just a few seconds, Su Qin was forced to take a few steps back. A wave of air spread out with Lin Muyu as the center. Who won and who lost was very clear. Su Qin's strength was only at the first heavenly layer while Lin Muyu had already stepped into the second heavenly layer. In addition to the difference in martial arts, Lin Muyu was stronger by more than one level. Sure enough, a young hero. Su Qin laughed out loud. The legendary second-ranked of the 4 heroes of Lan Yen, Lin Muyu really makes one have a whole new level of respect for you. Come you and Xiaoyin come with me. We received Yu's letter early in the morning and father has prepared good wine and food to entertain you all. Thank you, Lord Commander. Lin Muyu was still respectful. This was the rule of this world that he had learned. Hide the edge. In this world of iron and blood, if one did not learn to hide the edge, they may die very early, no matter how high their cultivation was. For example, the 7 luminaries demon emperor was known as the world's #1, but he was too arrogant. In the end, didn't he fall in the 17th layer of purgatory? He really deserved it. As he thought of this, the 7 luminaries demon emperor in the depths of Yi immediately woke up. Damn, you brat, are you cursing me again? Your arm has just recovered and you have already forgotten your benefactor. Lin Ruoji, you are really an ungrateful king bastard. Lin Muyu did not scold him back. He just sank his Yi and sent the 7 luminaries demon emperor to the depths of Yi. He did not have to listen to his JJWW, so he could have some peace of mind. Although Muyu City was known as one of the 7 great cities, there was no imperial palace or temporary imperial residence. There was only a duke's mansion that stood majestically in the center of the city. When Lin Muyu and Qin Yin stepped into the duke's mansion under the protection of a group of guards, from afar, an old man was already walking over with a cane. He was wearing an official robe that had a faint golden luster. He smiled and said, Sumyun Xiaoyin, is finally willing to see grandfather? Qin Yin immediately lifted her skirt and rushed over. She threw herself into Su Muyun's arms and sweetly called out, Grandfather! Su Muyun smiled so much that the wrinkles on his face were about to crack. He happily patted Qin Yin's shoulder and said, Oh, Xiaoyin has grown into a big girl. Be careful, grandfather's asthma is about to come out because of you. Qin Yin giggled and let go of Su Muyun. She said, Grandfather, you haven't gone to the capital to see Xiaoyin for so long. Don't you miss me at all? Of course I do. Why wouldn't I miss you? Su Muyun held his granddaughter's hand and looked at her carefully. He said, Xiaoyin, you look exactly like your mother. Sai, when grandfather looks at you, it's as if I'm looking at your mother. In the blink of an eye, so many years have passed. This old man feels as if Yun is still alive. Qin Yin's eyes turned red. Grandfather, don't say any more. Let me introduce you to someone. Su Muyun's eyes flashed. He looked at Lin Muyu and said with a smile, There's no need for introductions. This is Lin Muyu, one of the 4 heroes of Lan Yen, right? She really has an imposing appearance. His Majesty has good taste. He recognized such a good godson. Lin Muyu cupped her fists and said respectfully, Subordinate Lin Muyu pays respect to Duke Yun. Good. Su Muyun helped Lin Muyu up and said with a smile, Let's go. I know that you and Xiaoyin must have disguised yourselves to safely come to Yunzhong province. You must have suffered a lot along the way, right? I've prepared food and wine for you. Come quickly. We can talk after we're full. Qin Yin nodded with a smile. In the back hall of the Duke's mansion, a large table of good wine and dishes had already been placed there. Because Her Royal Highness the Princess was the one eating, those who did not have a high enough status could not eat together with her. There were only 4 people, Su Muyun, Su Qin, Qin Yin, and Lin Muyu. But it was good they could eat their fill. After they were full, Su Muyun and Su Qin looked at each other and stood up together. They took a few steps back and knelt on the ground. They said in unison, Su Muyun and Su Qin, listen to the imperial edict. Chapter 234. Lin Muyu initially thought that Qin Jin had only given Qin Yin a verbal edict. She did not expect that Qin Yin would open her spatial pouch and take out a golden scroll. Qin Jin's handwriting was written on the scroll. Qin Yin's beautiful eyes looked at her grandfather and uncle who were kneeling on the ground. She cleared her throat and said, Yunzhong Province's governor, Duke Yun, listen to the edict. Immediately gather the main military forces of Yunzhong Province with this edict and promote Su Qin to be the commander-in-chief, commanding 100,000 steel blade troops. Su Yu to be the protector of the state general, commanding 60,000 Qin dragon troops. Send these 160,000 troops out of Yunzhong Pass and use this edict as an excuse to attack Cangnan Province. Enter Five Valleys City and disarm Long Qianlin's 100,000 troops. If he disobeys, kill without mercy. In addition, all the seized troops must be handed over to the Jinan general, Lin Muyu. I hope that Duke Yun can put Lin Muyu's military skills in an important position and assign 50,000 steel blade troops to her command. Together, we will pacify the chaos in Cangnan Province. After reading the edict, Qin Yin smiled and bowed. Grandfather, uncle, don't kneel. Quickly get up and receive the edict. Otherwise, Xiao Yin will be embarrassed. Quickly get up. Su Muyun slowly stood up with a shocked expression on his face. Looks like His Majesty is really going to make a move against Hu Tianning this time, Qin Yin nodded. Not only did Hu Tianning secretly minted coins, he also controlled the military and political power. Even when Imperial Father repeatedly summoned him to the imperial capital to report on his work, he pretended to be deaf and mute. It has already been 2 years since he paid tribute to the imperial capital. Su Qin stood up, cupped his fists, and sneered. Hu Tianning's rebellious intentions are clear. This time with His Majesty's personal edict, I want to see what Hu Tianning can do. Su Muyun furrowed his brows and said, this matter must be completed with the force of a thunderbolt. If we delay, there will be changes. Qin, immediately order the 100,000 steel blade army to return to Muyu City. Your sister Su Yu's Zither Dragon army is only 1 day away. The entire army needs to enter Cangnan Province secretly. With the speed of the Muyu City's steel cavalry, we can reach the Five Valleys City within 3 days. With the Emperor's edict, we can seize all the military equipment in Cangnan Province. Su Qin nodded. Yes, father. I will do as you say, but what, uncle? Qin Yin blinked her eyes and asked. Su Qin smiled and said, His Majesty's edict ordered me to hand over half of the Steel Blade Army's military power to you. Sigh, the captaincy of the Steel Blade Army are all rough people. I'm afraid that you is new and will not be able to control them well. Qin Yin was startled. She did not expect Su Qin to say this. But after thinking about it carefully, it was reasonable. Lin Muyu was silent, but she was thinking about many things. This time, Qin Jin used the Muyu City's military power to pacify the rebellious people in Cangnan Province. At the same time, he wanted her to take part of the Muyu City's military power to achieve the effect of killing 2 birds with 1 stone. This showed that Qin Jin did not trust Su Muyun and Su Qin completely. This game of power was too complicated, and Lin Muyu was already involved. It was impossible for Xiao Yao to stay out of it. Xiao Yin, Lin Muyu frowned and said, just as Lord Su Qin said, I am only a newly appointed general of the south. There is no way I can control an army of 50,000. I am also worried that I am not capable enough and will ruin things. But Imperial Father's edict. Qin Yin pouted and said, all right then, I will listen to you. Lin Muyu turned around and cupped his fists at Su Qin with a smile and said, Commander Su Qin, don't worry. I, Lin Muyu, will not take a single soldier from the Muyu City. The 100,000 Steel Blade Army will still be under your command. This way, the Steel Blade Army's combat power can be maximized. I'm just a little worried. Cangnan Province's General Long Qianlin is well versed in the art of war and has nearly 20,000 flying mount soldiers under him. If this matter cannot be resolved peacefully, a bloody battle will be inevitable. Su Qin looked at him gratefully and said, what do you think we should do? Lin Muyu said, how about this, let's take drastic measures? What drastic measures? Su Muyun narrowed his eyes and looked at this inexperienced young man. Lin Muyu smiled. Long Qianlin's biggest trump card is the 17,000 flying mount soldiers, so I plan to split the army into 2 groups. I will first go to Five Valleys City and borrow the 10,000 flying mount soldiers from Long Qianlin with my dragon talisman. Then, Commander Su Qin and Commander Su Yu will lead the Cloud Province's army to suppress the border. Maybe Hu Tianing will give up resisting and admit defeat. Good. Yu patted Lin Muyu's shoulder and said with a smile, "This is a good idea. I forgot that Commander Long Qianlin is the champion of the Sword Battle Assembly and has a dragon talisman in his hand. You don't need to go to Five Valleys City. I received a letter not long ago saying that Long Qianlin has led nearly 20,000 flying mount soldiers to 3 Mountain Pass. You just need to go to 3 Mountain Pass and take 10,000 of his flying mount soldiers. Then, Long Qianlin will naturally be a tiger without teeth." Lin Muyu looked at Qin Yin and said, "Then Xiao Yin she." Su Muyun smiled slightly. "Don't worry, I will bring Xiao Yin to conquer Tsangnan province. I only have 1 granddaughter, so naturally, I won't let her suffer any harm. You just go to 3 Mountain Pass. By the way, going alone is a bit weak. How about this? Su Qin, pick 3,000 cavalry from the Iron Blade army and let you bring them to 3 Mountain Pass. This will ensure their safety along the way." "Yes, father." "Then it's decided. You will rest for the night and set off tomorrow morning. Our army will also set off tomorrow. Let's meet at Five Valleys City. If we succeed, I will bring Xiao Yin, Su Qin, and Su Yu to the imperial capital to see His Majesty. It's been a long time since I've gone back to Lanyan City to visit my relatives." Qin Yin smiled faintly. Let's do it this way." Late at night, the moon was bright and the stars were sparse. Green smoke lingered in the gilded incense burner, bringing with it a faint fragrance. The wing of the Duke's mansion in Muyu City was very exquisite and unusually spacious. Outside, there were 4 maids waiting to be summoned at any time. Lin Muyu sat on the side of the bed, slowly circulating the Forging Dragon Bone Remnant Scroll to speed up the recovery of her injuries. Qin Yin sat not far away, holding a cup of hot tea and smiling as she breathed. "Big brother Yu." She suddenly looked at Lin Muyu. "What's wrong, Xiao Yin?" Lin Muyu smiled. Qin Yin pursed her red lips and softly said, "Father intended to let you lead the troops to gain experience. Why did you refuse Father's good intentions? Originally, if we had insisted a little, Uncle would have divided half of the troops for you to command. Uncle has been in control of the Iron Blade army for so many years. It's considered the most elite force in the entire continent. You actually didn't understand Father's painstaking efforts." Lin Muyu couldn't help but smile. She walked over and sat next to Qin Yin, saying, "It's not that I didn't understand, but I saw Commander Su Qin's performance. Your uncle is not that generous. The Iron Blade army is his flesh and blood. If you insist on cutting half of it, it's hard to guarantee that he won't be dissatisfied, right?" Qin Yin nodded lightly and smiled, saying, "What you said makes some sense. But this way, perhaps after Tsangnan province is recovered, the biggest beneficiaries will be uncle and grandfather. But that's fine too. We're a family after all." "Yes." Lin Muyu sighed. Qin Jin sent him to protect Qin Yin to Muyu City. This game of chess was a little big. He didn't know if his good intentions would achieve the desired results. Lin Muyu now admired this emperor more and more. Qin Jin was far from being as muddle-headed and incompetent as he looked on the surface. On the contrary, he was a schemer. In the main hall of the Duke's mansion, Su Qin knelt on the ground on one knee. His hand held the hilt of his sword and his expression was solemn. He said in a low voice, "Father, if I did something wrong, you can punish me directly." Su Muyun's expression was cold. He said lightly, "You know you did wrong?" "I don't know." "You don't know?" Su Muyun's pair of turbid eyes suddenly shone brightly. He said, "His Majesty wants you to split half of the troops and let Lin Muyu command. You actually dared to shirk the responsibility." Do you know that you have committed the crime of deceiving the emperor? As long as Xiao Yin goes back and says a word in front of His Majesty, I'm afraid you can't be the great general anymore. Su Qin was startled. He suddenly broke out in a cold sweat. Then I have already done wrong. How should I remedy it? Father, please teach me. Su Myun sighed and said, Don't worry. You are Xiao Yin's uncle. Xiao Yin has also grown up and is sensible. She will naturally not do anything that is detrimental to you. As for that Lin Muyu, what's wrong with Lin Muyu? He knows how to read people's expressions at such a young age. Furthermore, I have observed him for a long time. I found that his breathing is very stable and his mood is not chaotic. Such a person will definitely be able to maintain his calm and composure in the face of great ups and downs. If the rumors are true, and he did not fall into a disadvantageous position when fighting against Long Qianlin on the Fire Axe Mountain, then such a person is really too terrifying. Su Qin raised his head and smiled. Father, Yu is His Majesty's godson and Xiao Yin's godson. The more skilled he is in both the pen and the sword, the more he will be able to protect the empire, right? Su Muyun couldn't help but laugh. He nodded and said non-committally, Perhaps you're right. Qin, you should pay more attention to this Lin Muyu in the future. Once he has any rebellious thoughts, he will be the biggest threat to the empire. If you really find out that he has rebellious thoughts one day, remember Father's words, kill him immediately without mercy. Yes, Father, I will remember. And we will set off tomorrow. The cavalry will be in the front, and the infantry will bring up the rear. We must arrive at the Five Valleys city within 3 days. I hope that this time, Hu Tianning will be executed without using any weapons. Otherwise, I am afraid that the people of the Cloud Province and Songnan Province will encounter a great disaster. And I understand. The next morning, Lin Muyu woke up early. Lin Muyu's injuries had already recovered by about 70 to 80%. His left arm was brimming with energy and boundless strength. After the battle at Dao River, his overall strength did not decrease. Instead, it increased quite a bit. It could be considered as a blessing in disguise. Early in the morning, 3,000 cavalrymen of the Steel Blade Army stood in great numbers outside the city. Qin Yin personally handed an iron tiger tally to Lin Muyu. She repeatedly told him to be careful and pay attention to his safety. Lin Muyu naturally smiled and comforted her in every way possible, telling her not to worry. After giving the order, 3,000 cavalrymen quickly left the Muyu city and went straight to the Three Mountains Pass. Chapter 235. After galloping along the ancient path for a day and a night, they could see the Three Mountain Pass in the distance at noon on the second day. General. A Chiliarch cupped his fists and said, The Three Mountain Pass is the transportation hub of the Yunzhong Commandery and the ancient path. It's easy to defend and hard to attack. I'm afraid Long Qianlin has already received the news of Yushu's arrival. And follow me into the pass in a while. Yes. Another Chiliarch said worriedly, if Long Qianlin has any rebellious thoughts, General shouldn't enter the pass. It's too dangerous. How can General take the risk? Don't worry. Lin Muyu untied the dragon spirit sword on her back and held it in her hand. She smiled and said, You guys can camp outside the pass. I'll go in alone. Wait for me. I'll follow General into the pass. If we're going to die, we'll die together. There's no one in Muyu City who's afraid of death, he said firmly. Lin Muyu nodded in appreciation. Good. Then the 3 Chiliarchs will follow me into the pass to show our sincerity. The Three Mountain Pass was located between 3 peaks. It was about 10 meters high and the walls were built with huge rocks that weighed thousands of kilograms. The walls were covered with withered vines. There were flags fluttering above the pass. It was Long Qianlin's flag with a big long character that was very conspicuous. Lin Muyu slowly approached the city with the 3 senior generals and shouted from afar, General of the South, Lin Muyu, requests to see General Long Qianlin. Please open the gate for us. Creak. The drawbridge was lowered and the guards cupped their fists and said, "General Long invites Sir to enter the pass for a chat." "Many thanks." They rode their horses into the pass and found that the interior of the three-mountain pass was very spacious and well organized. More than 10,000 soldiers of the Flying Mount camp were stationed inside, and the shouts from the training ground were earth-shattering. In the depths of the camp, a row of cavalry galloped over. Long Qianlin was at the front in golden armor and holding a spear. He laughed and cupped his fists and said, "Sir Lin Muyu, it's been a long time. I didn't expect you to come to the Three-Mountain Pass. Are you looking for me to drink?" "Of course not." Lin Muyu looked at the situation inside the pass. The flying cavalry camp's supply troops were preparing their rations and weapons, and they were about to set off. He couldn't help but ask, "Sir Long Qianlin, where are you planning to go after breaking camp?" Long Qianlin looked calm and said with a smile, "I heard that a group of bandits has been causing trouble in the villages and towns within the borders of Wugu City. Therefore, under the orders of the governor, I'm going to lead the Flying Mount Battalion back to Wugu City to eliminate the bandits." "Oh, I see," Lin Muyu smiled faintly and said, "but I also have urgent military news here. A group of wandering mercenaries are attacking the innocent people of Cloud Middle Commandery. I have been ordered by His Majesty to bring the Dragon Talisman to Sir Long Qianlin to borrow troops to eliminate the bandits." "Borrowing soldiers from me?" "That's right. Can I lend you 10,000 fierce soldiers of the Flying Mount Battalion?" Lin Muyu took out the Dragon Talisman. The exquisite commander's talisman glowed with a moving luster under the sunlight. "This..." Long Qianlin frowned and muttered to himself. After a long while, he said, "But I have been ordered by the governor to break camp and return to Wugu City as soon as possible." Lin Muyu smiled and said, "The Dragon Talisman was bestowed by His Majesty. Sir Long Qianlin, may I ask, is the Flying Mount Battalion the Empire's army or the governor's army?" Long Qianlin looked aghast and hurriedly cupped his fists respectfully and said, "Of course it's the Empire's army." "Sir Lin Muyu, you're giving me too much credit." Lin Muyu raised her eyebrows and said with a smile, "Since that's the case, why aren't you willing to hand over the Flying Mount Battalion to me?" Long Qianlin's expression was uncertain. He had already thought of many things. Lin Muyu urged her horse closer and said in a low voice, "A great building is about to collapse. A wise man submits to circumstances. Could it be that Sir Long Qianlin is really willing to see these elite warriors of the Flying Mount Battalion become a pile of desolate bones under the rule of power?" Long Qianlin gritted his teeth even more and confirmed his thoughts. He raised his head to look at Lin Muyu and asked, "Has His Majesty really made up his mind? Privately minting coins is a grave crime. Don't you understand?" "Sigh." Long Qianlin sighed. At the same time, his palm gently moved to the hilt of his sword. The group of Flying Mount Battalion guards at the side also looked fiercely at Lin Muyu and company. Lin Muyu couldn't help but laugh. With a soft grunt, a golden gourd appeared in his palm. He held the golden gourd and said with a smile, "That's right. There are only 3 of us who entered the pass. You, Long Qianlin, can kill the 3 of us without batting an eyelid, but Duke Yun, His Highness Yun, Su Qin, Su Yu, and the entire Yunzhong province know that I, Lin Muyu, have come to Three Mountain Pass to borrow soldiers. You want to kill me, but you want the entire Three Mountain Pass to be buried with me. Is it really worth it?" Long Qianlin's expression was extremely pained. Lin Muyu smiled faintly and said, "You are a person who loves soldiers. The Flying Mount Battalion is one of the few elite divisions of the Empire. They should be fighting all over the country and defending our territory. Do you want the Flying Mount Battalion to become a rebel army and die without a burial ground because of your mistake?" This sentence hit the nail on the head. Long Qianlin was indeed a general who used troops like a god, but he was also a person who loved soldiers like they were his own children. Forget it," Long Qianlin sighed. He looked up at the sky and said, "If it is preordained by the heavens, then I, Long Qianlin, have betrayed the heavens and the earth. Since Sir Lin Muyu has the Dragon Talisman bestowed by His Majesty, then I, Long Qianlin, entrust all 17,000 brave soldiers of the Flying Mount Battalion to you. I hope you can treat these brave soldiers well. No matter how many unpardonable crimes the governor and I, Long Qianlin, have committed, these soldiers are innocent. They are all soldiers who are loyal to the empire. I know. Lin Muyu looked at him deeply and said, I guarantee with my life that these 17,000 brave soldiers of the Flying Mount Battalion will be safe. All right, thank you very much, Long Qianlin shouted. All the cavalry commandants of the Flying Mount Battalion, come over here. The cavalry commandants of the Flying Mount Battalion were Kiliarchs and were also the ones who had the most direct control over the military. Very soon, all 17 cavalry commandants gathered in front of them. Their warhorses neighed as they looked at Long Qianlin solemnly. Long Qianlin reluctantly took out the tiger tally from his bosom, raised it high, and shouted word by word, Always remember, the Flying Mount Battalion is the army of the Empire. You and I are soldiers of the Empire. We will never betray the people or our homeland. From today onwards, the person you need to follow is Sir Lin Muyu and not me, Long Qianlin. Remember, don't seek revenge for me and don't resent anyone. Your mission is to protect the Empire's territory. Long Qianlin turned around and handed the tiger tally to Lin Muyu. His eyes were red as he said, From today onwards, the Flying Mount Battalion will be entrusted to you. All the cavalry commandants looked emotional and shouted, We are willing to follow the general forever. The general can't abandon us like this. Long Qianlin shouted in a low voice, All of you, shut up. Remember, you are the soldiers of the Empire, not the soldiers of me, Long Qianlin. That's all I have to say. 3 Mountain Pass Imperial Guards, assemble and follow me. He turned his horse and left. Lin Muyu hurriedly asked, Long Qianlin, where are you going? Long Qianlin turned around. His handsome face was filled with helplessness and despair as he said, The Five Valleys city has changed. Governor Hu Tianning has known me for a long time and has shown me great kindness. He has admonished me to the death and fought to the death. I want to return to the Five Valleys city and die in battle as my final gratitude to the governor. Are you going to rebel with Hu Tianning? Lin Muyu shouted. Do I have a choice? Long Qianlin was furious. Lin Muyu raised the tiger tally and shouted, Flying Mount Battalion, listen up. Take down Long Qianlin. Long Qianlin suddenly drew his sword and shouted, I want to see who dares to stop me. Long Qianlin. Lin Muyu raised her voice and said, Perhaps Hu Tianning originally didn't want to resist the army of Muyu City, but your going is tantamount to giving him hope. Do you know that you are helping the evildoer? Do you know how many soldiers will die tragically in Five Valleys City? How many wives will lose their husbands? And how many children will lose their fathers for your insignificant gratitude? Long Qianlin suddenly trembled. He was dressed in military attire, but tears were flowing down his face. He suddenly sheathed his sword and said, Then I will go alone. If I have to die, I, Long Qianlin, will die alone. No one can stop me. With that, the warhorse raised its front hooves and flew out of 3 Mountain Pass. Looking at Long Qianlin's back, Lin Muyu's expression was a little lonely. She frowned and said, All commandants, gather. Prepare to assemble the troops and follow me out of the pass. The commandants were dumbfounded. With Long Qianlin gone, Lin Muyu had become the highest-ranking person here. They were stunned for a moment, then they all crossed their right hands in front of their chest and saluted, Yes, my lord. In the afternoon, the 17,000 Flying Mount Battalion soldiers and the 3,000 cavalry of Muyu City gathered together. The military might was greatly boosted, and they now had an army of 20,000. Lin Muyu did not lead this group to Five Valleys City. Instead, he took them straight to Silver Fir City. Silver Fir City was not far from Five Valleys City, and it would allow the Flying Mount Battalion to avoid the chaos of war. At the same time, it could sit between Five Valleys City and Lanyan City. In any case, this Flying Mount Battalion could not be handed over to Su Muyun and Su Qin. They arrived at Silver Fir City in the evening and set up camp outside the city. A group of commandants from the Flying Mount Battalion was sullen, so Lin Muyu called for an impromptu meeting to appease them. He also promised these generals that after the incident at Five Valley City, he would do his best to beg the emperor to save Long Qianlin's life. In fact, from a moral point of view, Lin Muyu also hoped that Long Qianlin's life could be saved. Among the 7 divine generals of the empire, Du Hai was iron-blooded and Xiang Yu was cruel. Feng Jixing, Qin Lei, and the others did not guard the borders. Lin Muyu had also heard of the other generals. Very few of them would treat human life as a big deal. This continent really needed a benevolent general like Long Qianlin. After nightfall, a messenger bird quietly landed at the head of Lin Muyu's bed. She took the letter tube. There was a piece of paper inside with a line of words written on it. "Milord, the captain of the Flame Dragon Mercenary Band, by Lixing, has led 9,000 Flame Dragon mercenaries, and together with 7,000 mercenaries from the Ghost Domain Mercenary Band, a total of 16,000 people have surrounded the Dragon Rocky Mountain. They have threatened to destroy the Longdan army camp. Our army can only defend and not leave. They hope that Milord can send reinforcements immediately." Luo Yu, the Longdan army camp has been surrounded. Lin Muyu let out a sigh. It just so happened that she had an army of 20,000 cavalry under her command. It could be put to good use. She quickly wrote back, "Defend and not leave. Wait for reinforcements." Chapter 236. On Dragon Rocky Mountain, the flames of war spread. The foot of the mountain was surrounded, and all kinds of flags were fluttering. The Flame Dragon Mercenary Corps and the Ghost Mercenary Corps were the 2 largest unregistered wandering mercenary corps in the North Ridge province. They were also known as the 2 largest rogue corps in the capital. In their eyes, there was no law at all. The only rule was the survival of the fittest. Moreover, the power of these mercenary corps was so strong that the local army of the Qin Empire could do nothing to them. They just let them fight and annex each other. As long as these wandering mercenaries did not attack the government, they would not cause too much chaos. In the big tent of the Flame Dragon Mercenary Corps, the captain, Bailey Xing, was wearing a fiery red armor. He held a scimitar with his bare arms and held a maid in his arms. He picked up a piece of meat with the scimitar and fed it to the maid. Although the maid was smiling, she was trembling all over. If she was not careful, the scimitar would pierce through her head. This kind of thing was not uncommon. Good girl." Bailey Xing smiled and grabbed the maid's chest. He said with a smile, "We have surrounded Dragon Rocky Mountain and cut off their water supply. Let's see how long Luo Yu and Feng Shi can hold on." At the table opposite him, a general in a leather robe also held a beautiful woman in his arms. It was Li Sihua, the captain of the Ghost Mercenary Corps. His face was crisscrossed with more than a dozen scars. His palm moved up and down the legs of the beautiful woman in his arms. He sneered with disdain and said, "It is said that the founder of the Longdan army camp is Lin Muyu, one of the 4 heroes of Lanyan. Isn't Captain Bailey afraid that Lin Muyu and the Imperial Guards will make trouble for you?" Bailey Xing couldn't help laughing. The emperor has the final say in Lanyan City, but in the dragon-seeking forest, does he still have the final say? The Imperial Guards. But the Imperial Guards are nothing in the dragon-seeking forest. I have killed so many people, but I have never killed an Imperial Guard. If Lin Muyu really dares to come, I will not let him leave. Brother Li Sihua, are you afraid? Li Sihua raised his eyebrows and said with a smile, "What am I afraid of? We have a total of 16,000 soldiers. How many people are there on Dragon Cliff? As long as we destroy the Longdan army camp, I'll say it first, all of their warhorses and weapons will belong to our Ghost Domain mercenary group." Bai Lixing nodded. "Got it. You're really troublesome. You can have it, but this mountain and the prisoners of war in the Longdan army camp will all belong to me. What do you think? Great. Let's destroy the Longdan army camp first, then the Tyrant Blade mercenary group, and then the Sacred Flame mercenary group. Then, no one in the North Ridge province will dare to challenge us." Let's drink. Let's drink and wait for Luo Yu to come down the mountain and surrender. Yes, Just as the two of them were happily drinking, a mercenary suddenly opened the tent flap and walked in. He knelt down nervously and said, "Captain, something bad has happened." "Why are you in such a hurry? You're ruining my mood." Bai Lixing raised his eyebrows. "Captain, the scouts have reported that about 20,000 soldiers of the Empire carrying the flag of the Flying Mount Camp are charging in the direction of Dragon Cliff Mountain. They're less than 5 kilometers away from here. They'll arrive in 10 minutes. "What?" Bai Lixing couldn't sit still. He pushed away the maid in his arms, stood up and shouted, "How is that possible? Isn't the Flying Mount Camp stationed in Sangnan Province? What are they doing in the North Ridge Province? Besides, we pay tribute to that old fox Hu Tianning every year. What does he mean by doing this?" The messenger trembled and said, "Captain, the person leading the Flying Mount Camp isn't Long Qianlin. If it's not Long Qianlin, who else can it be? Don't tell me Hu Tianning is leading the troops personally?" "No, it's Lin Muyu." Bullsh *T. Lin Muyu and Long Qianlin have fought before. How could he be leading the Flying Mount Camp? The scout must have made a mistake. This group of bastards dared to drink when they went out to be sentries. I'll skin them alive when I get back. The messenger was on the verge of tears. Regiment commander, the scout said that what he saw was absolutely true. They are all heavy cavalry, and they will be able to reach the foot of the mountain in 10 minutes. We can't just sit here and wait for death. Bai Lixing roared and kicked the table away. His face was pale. He said, "What can we do in 10 minutes? Li Sihua stood up and said loudly, "Pass down my order. The Ghost Mercenary Corps is to assemble immediately and retreat to the west. We can't stay here any longer." Bai Lixing said angrily, "Li Sihua, what do you mean? Are you going to be a coward at this critical moment? I was forced to come here by you. I don't want to be buried with you." Li Sihua grabbed his long sword and rushed out of the camp. He mounted his horse and shouted, "Ghost Mercenary Corps, retreat." But not far away, a platoon leader said with a bitter face, "Commander, we can't retreat anymore. A group of heavy cavalry from Muyu City has blocked our path of retreat, and hundreds of our brothers have already been shot dead." "What?" Li Sihua's body trembled. "Damn, let's fight them. Lin Muyu, I'll *CK your grandma." At the foot of Dragon Rocky Mountain, the two mercenary corps were in a mess. But at this moment, the gate on the mountain suddenly opened. Luo Yu led about 5,000 plus heavy cavalries from the Longdan army camp and attacked from the foot of the mountain. From the east, west, and south, the rumbling of war drums could be heard. The Empire's military flags were fluttering in the wind. Numerous elite cavalries had already surrounded them. Most of the mercenary groups were infantrymen. How could they escape? Even if they tried to escape, they would only become the target of the cavalry's attacks. Bai Lixing and Li Sihua were not stupid. Fighting with 20,000 regular cavalrymen on an open field was simply courting death. Moreover, there was still the courage of Dragon Battalion's cavalrymen behind them, who were no weaker than regular soldiers. Hua! A white flag was raised in Bai Lixing's hand. With an ashen face, he said loudly, "Fiery Dragon. Fiery Dragon Mercenary Corps is willing to surrender, willing to surrender. We surrender, please spare our lives." Amidst the clanking sounds, 16,000 people from the two mercenary corps actually surrendered without a fight. Their weapons were thrown on the ground. The mercenaries were so scared by the regular soldiers that their faces turned pale. They knelt on the ground and didn't even dare to breathe loudly. Lin Muyu rode out of the crowd with a few captain cavalry. She couldn't help but laugh secretly. What a motley crew! With this kind of combat power, they actually dare to occupy the mountain and call themselves kings. "It's ridiculous," one of the captain cavalry laughed and said, "General, they must have been frightened by the reputation of the Flying Mount Camp." Another commandant wiped the bloodstains off his saber and said with a smile, "I don't think so. They must have been scared out of their wits by the hundreds of people we killed earlier. We killed hundreds of them, but we didn't even lose 10 of our own men." Lin Muyu rode over and looked at Li Sihua and Bai Lixing. She asked, You two are the commanders of the Fiery Dragon Mercenary Corps and the Ghost Hunter Mercenary Corps? Bai Lixing knelt on the ground and kowtowed repeatedly. I'm Bai Lixing, the commander of the Fiery Dragon Mercenary Corps. I'm willing to lead my 9,000 brothers to surrender to the Longdan Army Camp. Please accept us. I heard that the Longdan Army Camp has the positions of Commander, Deputy Commander, Dragon Commander, and Tiger Commander. I, Bai Lixing, only want to be a Dragon Commander. Lin Muyu looked at him disdainfully and said with a faint smile, but the Longdan Army Camp only wants dragons, not dogs. Commander Bai Lixing, how many bad things have you done? Do you still want to join the Longdan Army Camp? Bai Lixing hurriedly said, I didn't do that. Don't listen to other people's nonsense. At this moment, Luo Yu and Fengxi rushed over. After cupping their fists, Luo Yu sneered and said, My lady, this Bai Lixing has been tyrannical in his area of influence for so many years. He is known as a local tiger. It is said that he has 52 concubines, and his hands are full of blood debts. A month ago, they slaughtered a village in Linzhong Commandery. That night, Bai Lixing killed 17 people with one saber. I see, Lin Muyu turned over and got off the horse. She raised her hand and pulled out the dragon spirit sword. She smiled at Bai Lixing and said, Turn your head away. It's better if you don't see this kind of scene. Bai Lixing trembled all over. He raised his head and said, My lady, you want to kill me? You want to kill me? Bai Lixing suddenly revealed his fierceness. He grabbed the scimitar and rushed over. However, Lin Muyu's speed was faster. She gently swung her left arm, and a faint golden dragon coiled around it. The blow directly hit Bai Lixing's back. Suddenly, Bai Lixing spat out a mouthful of blood and knelt on the ground again. He didn't have any strength to fight back. Swoosh! The blade swept past, and a head rolled out. Bai Lixing had been decapitated cleanly. A group of Flying Mount Battalion's commandants were stunned. They could see that Bai Lixing's strength was not bad. He was already at the third firmament of the Earth Realm. However, such a strong man didn't even last one round under Lin Muyu's sword. In an instant they were in awe. Lin Muyu, one of the 4 heroes of Lanyan, wasn't as gentle as she looked. Once she became ruthless, she wasn't inferior to Long Qianlin. Behead Li Sihua of the Ghost Domain Mercenary Group. Lin Muyu's voice was very calm. She said, Let these mercenaries identify each other. Behead all those who have killed civilians. The rest who are willing to stay in the Longdan Army Camp can stay. Those who are unwilling can be dismissed. From now on, the Flame Dragon Mercenary Group and the Ghost Domain Mercenary Group will no longer exist in this world. Luo Yu smiled slightly. Yes, my lady. Fengxi led everyone to do as she said. At this time, a Flying Mount Battalion's commandant walked forward and whispered, General, isn't it a little too cruel? Lin Muyu didn't deny it. She said, Yes, but so what? A life for a life. This is my rule. My lady is wise. In just half a day, 2 mercenary groups ranked 6th and 8th among the top 10 mercenary groups in Northridge Province disappeared. More than 500 people were executed on the spot, more than 11,000 people were dismissed, and more than 4,000 people were selected to join the Longdan Army Camp. At this point, the Longdan Army Camp had nearly 14,000 soldiers. It had become the most powerful mercenary group in Northridge Province. Moreover, it had a registered identity and was in existence that complied with the Empire's laws. While Luo Yu and the others were arranging people to bury the corpses, Lin Muyu had already mounted her horse. She ordered, Flying Mount Battalion, return to Silver Fir City. The majestic heavy cavalry left Dragon Rocky Mountain in the blink of an eye. Perhaps there were more important things waiting for them. You're tuning in to the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.